in the background.
There we go. It says we're live. There we go. Trey's here. Just want to welcome everybody to our weekly Q&A here. We'll have a decent amount of people on the panel tonight, so should have some good discussions, good conversations. I think when Ken opened the email, we have close to 12 emails stockpiled already.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have plenty of material to look through tonight and have good conversations with. So I guess we'll go down the line and introduce everybody like we typically do. Chuck, if you want to start.
Sure, I'll start. My name is Chuck Daughtry. I'm the owner of coppercoins.com and lincolncent.com and the Copper Coins channel on YouTube and the Copper Coins page on Facebook. I do mainly Lincoln cents, die varieties, and errors. Although I can recognize die varieties and other round shiny things, but I don't generally study them very much, so I'd have to send you to somebody else for help. That's what I've got.
TJ?
There we go. My name is CJ. I'm CJ Coins and Crafts. I mainly do coin-related things. I have a 3D printer that I do all kinds of the interesting things along with coins. What I really focus on is coins overall. I do a lot of research in the history and where coins come from and being able to identify things, whether that be errors or varieties, or so I'm kind of just a little techie research person in history and where coins come from.
Hey, Blues, mute your YouTube, please.
Things, whether that be error.
All right, Blues, you'll just have to unmute yourself now. Ken, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, how are you? I'm Ken. I'm a channel promoter, a coin hobby promoter. I talk about coins almost all the time. It's a lot of fun. It's my thing. We all do our thing. And I started this Q&A about 2 months ago, which is 2.5 months ago, and it is growing every single week. We're assembling a great panel. Sometimes we change the people out. But one thing we do for all the time and effort people put in, their only reward is to host the show on their channel. So we do jump from one spot to the other. You're going to find it. This week we're on Schumar's Coin Chat. I've got it updated on my blog. If you know what the 1 Million Pennies Project is, get your photos in. We'll talk about them. People are learning a lot from this thing.
Paula, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Paula Bloom. I collect coins. I love errors and varieties. Anything copper, mostly Lincoln cents. I'm new to this. All these people are my mentors, and that's it.
Go ahead, Shay. You can introduce yourself now if you wish.
No sound.
Hi, I'm
There you
Shay
go.
Hoffmaster with Mantic Coins, and I've been doing this a few years, and I still keep my microphone muted. So, yeah, I've been learning and studying all I can about coins and varieties and errors specifically, and I will find them or take them on any coin I can. I do not discriminate.
Go ahead, Blues, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Blue Coins. Some people call me Eric. That's okay. I collect errors and varieties, mostly the small cents, nickels, and the nickels. And just glad to be here.
Then I think Chris Rhodes will be stopping by tonight sometime too. So we have a nice wide variety of people on tonight. Might as well introduce myself. My name's Jeffrey Schumar. I run Schumar Coin Chats. Got my start in Lincoln Cents, and then with varieties and errors on the Lincoln Cents, and kind of sprouted from there. right now kind of dwelling with die progressions, die trends. So that's fun. That's time consuming. That's a beast, but it's fun to do. I think that's pretty much about it. Pretty much about me. You guys want to start with a discussion, or do you guys want to start with answering some emails?
I'm flexible.
What was it, Ken?
I'm flexible. We've got a dozen plus emails starting up, but it does take a moment to get those ready to show and all lined up.
We'll start with one of the easier questions for tonight. Can you trust what's on the slab or the holder?
I'll start loading up pictures.
I'm going to go ahead and say generally, yes. And that comes with a big asterisk. Specifically because, like, a lot of us definitely talk in terms of the top three: PCGS, NGC, and then Annex. Those are generally the top three that people talk about. The grading companies, quote unquote companies, that are outside of that range or outside of that, I'll call it a bubble. There isn't a solid known backing for accuracy. I think the overall shift of what is accepted as grade in some of the coins, such as like NGC, or especially I see it more in PCGS, that it's variable. If that makes sense. Like the coins that are graded, MS68, MS69 now are not the same as an MS68, MS69 that was done 10, 15 years ago. So generally, I would say yes, but I think that the grades aren't the hard grades that they used to be. I think they could be flexed.
Yeah, I'll jump in on this and say grades on a slab I use as a guide. It's just another guide. I find all the time, stuff overgraded, undergraded, misattributed. So I use it as a guide and go from there at least, And Ant brought up a good point. Reagan said it best: trust but verify. So, and things, some coins are graded details or questionable color, which I sometimes don't think they are. There's coins that get graded that are cleaned, that don't get marked cleaned. So I use it as a guide. Your top key three, most times they're, good and straight, but I still check.
Yeah, I agree with everybody so far. I think for the most part, you can trust what's on the slab, but everybody's heard this term many times: buy the coin, not the holder. So make sure you know what you're looking at. But at the end of the day, these coins are being graded by human beings, and there's always room for error when humans are involved. So until there's some sort of equipment or machinery out there able to assign grades to coins, there's always the the possibility of errors being made. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I would say for the most part, you can trust the holders. There's always going to be room for error, and you just got to make sure what you're looking at is what the coin is.
How do you know what it is? You've got to have the skills. You've got to be able to develop those grading skills to determine for yourself what the grade is in the slab. Now, if you have non-slab coins, I'm going to question that every single time. Anybody can take a pen and make that coin, geez, what do you like for a grade? And they're not necessarily using or applying a standard. Grading companies, the top three in particular, do have standards that they adhere to for the most part, but people do make errors. Then you got to watch yourself. But if you don't have the skill to grade that coin, how are you able to confirm if that coin is in fact a VF35. We've become dependent on the grading companies for a lot of things, and we need to redevelop those skills. They're being lost. We got 2 generations that have been growing up with certified coins, with slab coins. Get back to those basics and learn those skills. That
What the thing?
Hobby. How's that?
Yeah, the thing is with these grading companies is it's not just the coin. I collected sports cards for many years. Many people collect comic books or currency, and every hobby like that where you're collecting something, there seems to be some grading company or a few grading companies in there, and they've done a great job of marketing themselves to the point where we're almost at their mercy. It's really certain coins, whether it be key dates or other rarities, without them being in a holder, any don't even look at them. So they've done a really good job at pushing that. And like I said, across many different hobbies, and just coin collecting.
So JC brought up the question, and he says, "I've always heard that original green holders undergrade a lot. Do you think that's true?" I've found yes and no. There's some examples of where the grade's high for that grade. Sometimes you will get some in terms of gold keck stickers on them, which they should be a grade above, and sometimes you'll find they're graded right. But statistically, they were graded a little harsher back in that era, at least in terms of PCGS.
Somebody's got feedback coming from their YouTube or something.
How we look?
It's gone now.
I don't know. Anybody else have any other opinions?
I think, Jeff, what you were saying is kind of right on point. That you know, the grades that we knew, 10, 20, 25 years ago, I think the way that I see it, were very hard numbers. Like, this is a MS68, and there's no variation. And because those coins were sold and bought and sold based off of what they were graded as, because this is pre pictures, pre-internet, everything was in newspaper print and fact sheets and that kind of stuff. But I think some of it is, especially now with the dawn of technology, and we kind of covered this in another Q&A, where the dawn of technology has now shown the pictures, and I feel that the grades are not as finite as they used to be, and that's what kind of bothers me, because with that, the loss of skills, being able to grade a coin by eye, there's a lot of people that can only go off of what the coin holder says.
I'm gonna jump in here and offer a few suggestions just from my own experience and pains. I think that before you buy a coin, as Kim was saying, you got to be ready to buy the coin. You got to know what you're buying. And a lot of the panel members are saying that sort of theme. But what does that mean? And how do you test yourself? Well, one of the best ways you can test yourself is to go into a coin shop or a coin show, take a look at their slabs, see if you can cover it up, and then figure out what the grade is, or identify the coin first, or come up with ways where you can maybe you want to buy a certain coin at a certain grade so that you understand. I don't know. There's all sorts. Think outside the box on how you can become expert enough to go out and spend your hard-earned money on a coin. Now, The other piece of advice is on eBay. If it's a fuzzy picture, you can pass it up. It's okay. It's not going to be the valuable variety that you might think it is most of the time. It's never happened to me. I bought some sucker buys. Everybody has. But if you know what you're buying and the pictures are clear and it's on the coin, then do it. But otherwise, I'd stay away until you're expert enough to identify all the coins you think you might want to buy. Anyway, that's it.
To touch on Koi's question about half grades or plus grades. Go ahead.
That doesn't happen too often anymore. I mean, very rarely do you see a coin in a half grade or a plus grade. NGC used to do a lot of the star grades and the plus grades beforehand. So it's something that's not as prevalent. And those in terms of those high MS, that half grade and that plus grade is kind of like an MS60. MS60 is right on the borderline of being an AU, maybe being an MS slider, possibly even, to where it's not good enough to be classified as a true mint state, but it's still high enough to get above an AU.
Now, with the NGC star grades, those are typically coins of higher eye appeal for the grade. That's not a half grade up. Or at least that's how NGC explains it.
Yeah, so the NGC stars, yeah. I just brought up that that's just extra designation they give. Right. Doesn't happen too often. So it's stars just for eye appeal. So that's in essence similar to kind of like a plus grade. It's an eye appeal. It's a step above a normal grade on that in terms of eye appeal. That just focuses on eye appeal. Anybody have any emails pulled up? We can.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I've got quite a few pulled up. Let me just switch over.
Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Rhodes. Most of you may know me from the coin groups. Apparently, I'm an artist as well. Not very good, but I try. Paula, I can't believe you kept that.
I'm keeping it forever.
I should have been in a museum.
My collection focuses errors and varieties. And Ken Peavy, I gotta say, that shirt is off the hook tonight.
My sister got me this one.
You get a lot of shirts from your sister, don't you?
Hey, she keeps me in clothing.
That's good. I like that.
I liked the blue one.
Paula, you can throw that away. That was just a joke.
I am never throwing that away. I'm going to be buried. I'm going to be buried with that. Or in it.
That's cheesy.
It's so cheesy. It's the cheesiest. I don't throw stuff like that away. Sometimes it means more to me than what's inside of it.
Okay, so Shay has this photo pulled up now.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't muted. All right. So the question is from Stephen.
I just want to take a second to say hi to my boyfriend, Klesh. How are you? How are you doing? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
It says, Mr. Peavy, this is an uncirculated set I just got. Kennedy has some scratches and quarters are dinged up. On the edges. Is that normal? It's my first uncirculated set. Also, I have an error, I think. I call it the Lee Oswald error. Bullet hole to the left of Kennedy's ear. What do you think? Is it a new error? Okay, hold on. Let me take a look here.
The scratches on the face and everything, that's going to come with that's basically what they look like coming out of the mint. We got to remember that the creation of these coins basically drops them into a bin because they're not handled like proof coins. They're not specially handled. So when they drop into these bins, like they're gonna have coins that come down and take hits and take scratches, because they're just dropped into a bin. Proof coins are handled are handled separately, where they are generally minted one at a time or a batch at a time. So they aren't like the mass production scale that your regular uncirculated just means that they just take it out of the bin before it gets sent into circulation. Is the way I understand it.
Yeah, the shame of the matter for these is these are not actually intended for circulation anymore. So you would think that they would take a little more care in handling them, because they are being sold from the Mint's website at a premium, way above face value. But yeah, unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast with business strike coins.
Okay, I got a 2009 mint set right here in front of me. I'm taking the coins out so we can have a better look at them. All right, and yeah, they're not given special attention. These are business strike coins that are put into the mint set, and they're going to be, you're going to find marks and dings and little scuffs across the darn things. If I put that under the scope, we can probably see it a whole lot easier, because they're not specially handled. Well, they kind of get some better attention, but you're going to see marks. You're going to see dings. Where's the quarters? Here we go. Scuffs across the neck. You're going to see, there's another one right here. The finish will be blemished. You might see a spot on occasion. This is why the mint sets have been, well, just having a hard time selling over the years. They used to put them in a cellophane package, and they were replete with marks. You couldn't find a darn decent one. You could get better ones out of rolls a lot of times. Well, these aren't proof issues. They're not created with the same standards of the extra sharp strike, the specialized dies, the polished planchet. Although these are the Slabs were a little bit better. But your typical mint sets, no, you're going to have marks all over the place. Where's my pointy pen? Here's one. We got one right in here, and this is in the new stiff wrapper. And I just saw a mark on one of these pennies. I can't quite get to it. There, this is inside the darn packaging. Big fat mark right across it. There's one inside the dollar package. Why they're inexpensive a lot of times.
Okay, so we're on back here to the picture Shay has pulled up.
Yeah, so there's this big old hole, I guess, depression right in front of his ear. I'm not exactly sure what to make of it.
Is that in the very center of the coin?
I'm looking for that right now.
That's what I am too. Hardness test.
No,
Okay,
I don't think it is. I think the center is in the ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, the center is going to be right about the ear.
We were all on the same page there.
Yeah.
Big old ding.
Yeah.
That's an odd one. I mean, it's perfectly round.
Aren't those typically
Clearly.
on the reverse anyway? I mean, or does it just depend on, I guess it depends on which die they're testing, huh?
Well, a Rockwell hardness test would be raised on the coin, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
checking
Yeah.
the hardness of the die.
But
So is there any damage visible on the reverse opposite of this mark? I mean, even if it were damage to the coin, you might not see that because it's so small. But it almost appears to be a struck through to me. I mean, it's perfectly round.
Yeah, the perfectly round is
send a picture
perfect.
first.
The perfectly round is what catch me off.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's a tool of some sort. It's like someone hit something with on this coin. Because I don't see any other way.
This is still in the mint packaging?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Chuck, do you know if there are any ball bearings used anywhere in the equipment?
Well, in the planchet making, yes, but the ball bearings are only used to polish the planchets before they're used. At this point in the stage where the coin's actually struck, no, there wouldn't be any ball bearings in the minting chamber, in the strike chamber. I have up on my screen right now, I have an image of a 2019 $50 design with a red dot directly in the center. And it's way off of where this particular red dot is. However, you will notice that the red dot, I mean that the dent on the coin is exactly on the y-axis of the center of the design.
I have exactly the same thing right here.
So you have another coin, Paula, with the same mark?
Yep. And it's if I had to guess, it's probably on the other three too. Let me pull up my microscope.
Now that's interesting.
Yes, it is.
All right, everybody get your 2019 sets.
Hang on, I need to a second. I gotta unplug and I gotta get my microscope working here.
I wonder, would it be possible that something got lodged in there, struck, and actually stayed stuck to the die face?
I'm gonna have to turn it around, I think.
I would actually think it'd be the other way around, that the hub got dented before the dies were made.
Boy, these are hard to. Oh, let's see. Doggone it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to turn it sideways. Sorry, guys, but it'll still get the job done.
Oh, I can see it just fine, Paula.
Turn sideways. Get smart, Alec. Respect your elders.
That was respectful.
Okay. It's hard.
Don't forget, this is
right
the elder who keeps the Cheez-It boxes.
That's right. Let me see if I can get closer.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Stop it.
Yeah, what are we looking at here?
Right there. There's the ear. There's the mark. Ear, mark.
But
is that in exactly the same place?
That's not in the same place.
Yes, it is. Ear, mark.
Can you pull it back up a little bit?
The photo is right on that sideburn line.
Yeah, let me switch back.
The example sent in has a much larger anomaly.
But it's still telling me that there's, I mean,
Contact.
that there's something odd. Okay, what is that, a P or a D?
It's an S. They're all S's.
Oh, I thought you said it was the mint uncirculated mint set.
Oh. Well,
that is a mint coin. That's not a.
Oh, it is a P. I'm sorry.
A P.
Okay, so that was the P on that one. Let me check this one.
Yeah, but the location and size of the anomaly is different.
It's not on the proof set.
The one of Paula's is a little irregular too.
Yeah.
So it's not on this one. And that's the P on that one.
Robert says that his 19 proof set doesn't have it.
Check the P on this.
But I think the one sent in was not a proof set. It was just an uncirculated, correct?
Yeah, it's an uncirculated P.
All right.
And this is and it's a P you said, or the D?
It's the P.
Okay, so this P doesn't have it either, just that one. So let me see if I can get it straight. right there. It may not be in the same spot, but to me, it looks like the same.
Possibly the same y-axis.
Same issue, whatever the issue is. That's the question.
Your specimen shows some furrowing, some shoved up metal on the northern side of your image right now. Yours is damaged for sure. That's shoved up.
And yeah, and it's not quite. It's got sort of broken up edges around the round.
Well, you're seeing mine live. His is a photo. So
now there are. It does look like there might be tooling marks around the edge. Almost, I mean, tooling marks would imply rubbing or scraping as opposed to a single ding with like one hit ball peen hammer to like a punch.
well, what are they using to put these in these packaging? I know they're using a robot.
Do you think the robot needed some adjustment and it's got some sort of lever that or something that pushes it into place? I don't know.
That would be something I would have to see. How, I mean, they did do a video on how they place these into these sets, but I don't know what the mechanism looks like. Because I can't see, because these are hard. These are harder plastic. These are not the typical, you know, they're like the 2009s, and you know that I can't see. I don't know, but it's odd that mine has one in very similar shape, maybe in a different spot, but very similar shape and size as that one.
So I think at the moment it's a mystery that we should keep our eye out for, huh?
I'm going to say the assumption of damage.
Yeah.
If you can find another one identical, location, size, shape, all of it, then you might have something. Until then, well, hold on to it.
All right.
Interesting for sure. I mean, I'd like to see a clear, really clear picture just to, you know, see if his has furrowing but.
You know, this kind of reminds me of something a member found, actually a few members in CoinOp found on one of the newer quarters. It was some sort of, but it was actually raised on their coin, but it almost looked like it was in the very center of the coin and it was raised. Did anybody else remember seeing that? I'm trying to find images of it right now.
No,
It
don't.
just kind of reminds me of that.
You said it was on a quarter, a state quarter?
Yeah, one of the new quarter issues. I believe it might have been Lowell because they were probably looking for the W. Let me see. I think. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it is raised on their coin, but the shape and size is very similar. Let me see if I can send these images through that email. Actually, I'll just take a picture of it with my phone.
Do you guys want to talk about the next coin while we wait for that?
Yeah, sure thing.
All right. David Lee of Silver Giveaways sent this in. And let me see if I can get it centered a little bit. NCG certified. Okay. The question is, hey guys, can you tell me anything about these Morgans? I know it's bleep greater, but are they worth the $30 each I paid for them? They are 19020 DMPL MS65 graded by NCG. I'm seeing crazy values if graded by one of the top graders. Fake? I don't know. Thank you.
The MPL.
Ken and
Yeah,
I
the-
already looked at these.
Yeah, it's not DMPL for sure.
So for those that don't know what that is, it's deep mirror proof like. So it's basically like a business strike coin that has proof like features.
Okay, so to get the proof like and deep mirror proof like, those devices have to be really, really frosty. Every single device on that coin needs to be frosty, and you need to have mirrored surfaces. That's the only way that it will be a true proof like or deep mirror proof like if it's above.
There's other things we noticed on these coins too. If you want to go in close.
Cleaned.
I see a lot of fine scratches.
Yeah, it jumped out that it was cleaned as well. The other one looked like it was polished.
Whizzed.
Just a little too fuzzy. Yeah, all right. So not DMPL, more in line with a normal Morgan.
That was
But
one of the things that we
clean.
discussed. This actually brought up one of the questions about trusting the slab and stuff. You know, my thing is, do I trust the slab? Who's it slabbed by, and who's selling it? I mean, those are two big points for me. But
NCG.
but you always have to trust yourself first. You have to trust your own knowledge and your own, you know.
Yeah.
But who's it slabbed by and who's selling it?
And anybody, you or me, can order these little packs and throw together a label off a printer in about 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So really, you got to make sure and decide what you're gonna. That's why you either have to know this coin really well to be able to decide for yourself, or don't buy from different graders that you don't recognize.
Okay, so Chuck has pulled up the image here.
That's a 1882S in PCGS MS66 DMPL.
DMPL.
That's a deep mirror proof like.
This is just a black and white on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Looks a
black
lot
and
like-
white. You can see all your devices are frosty. That cameo style blot's the same thing with the reverse, the eagle, the wreath. And if you got to move this coin would, I can tell you now, would be those fields would be mirror like. You'd be able to read stuff off of paper by holding that up.
Hang on. Sorry, you guys. I really hate interrupting. Ken, my coin came back.
Did
Just
it?
now?
I just got the message from Tim. AU50 brown.
Outstanding.
Good.
No details.
Outstanding. You stole it.
Sorry, you guys. It's a 1809 over inverted 9 half cent.
How did they attribute that, Paula?
Right.
He just messaged me. All it says is AU50 brown.
Okay, good.
No details.
Perfect.
Sorry, guys. I've been waiting like 2 months for this, so this was like super exciting. Okay, carry on. Sorry, you guys. I'm super excited.
As you were.
I'm super excited. I stole it. Ah,
All right.
I'll give a response as to value. This is a 19020, and I think we can all pretty much agree that it's AU details net clean. It's going to be roughly a $30 coin. $25 to $30. Basically, in good for the value of this is $24, and in AU 58, value $36. So there's a whole $12 spread between the lowest condition and the highest circulated condition. So roughly $30 is about what you're going to pay for one of these in the slab, out of the slab. Nice details with some cleaning. Without cleaning, doesn't make any difference. So it's roughly a $30 retail coin anyway. And for sure, the plastic does not help this one.
Now, NCG, that's a name that's designed to confuse the novice, the inexperienced buyer, confuse them with NGC.
I'm surprised they didn't have their pants suit off of them.
Beg your pardon?
I'm surprised they didn't have their pants suit away from them.
Give it time. Who knows? I got to track down who put it together. Barcode. It's got a serial number, but this is a clone or a ripoff slab. It's designed to deceive.
Yeah, we both told him to take it out now.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let me grab the next one.
I got coins ready.
You do? All right.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. I got 37 things open. Let's find it. I've got to go to here, show the screen.
Before we look at Layla's coin, can you guys let me know ahead of time, because she wants me to message her just so that she knows that that we're going to be looking at it.
Okay, we'll call her up. We'll have her up in a second here.
Okay.
After the 1959 PCGS MS64 quarter sent in by Koi lovers. Now, Koi is asking if this is FS901 and had some other information about that, a little more question. Let me take a moment here, get to that. Wait for it. Let's see. I got to find. Here it is. I recently purchased this quarter. I believe it's FS901 with a rotation error. I purchased this as a PCGS MS64 at below Numa's pricing. What's your opinion? Do you think it's an FS901? Okay, now we go back to the screen here.
The FS901 is just the Type B reverse.
Yep, there we go. So for the FS90, when you see the 901 on the 5S Stanton number, it's going to be a die variety or a design variety. And the Type B reverse is where the E and S in states is very close together. All right, I pulled a couple out to try to get an example, but I can't find a 64 proof. You've got the normal difference in space here. So this is the normal design. It's not an FS901. If it was, it'd be almost touching. I mean, this space would be a third the distance it is now. So it's not the 901. So the next question, is it a rotation? Well, I've got a little bit of an angle on the slab. If I look at the reverse photo and compare that, I've got a little bit of a turn on the eagle. I can zoom in a little better here. It's a slight rotation. Possibly. I wouldn't give it as much as 5 degrees. But I think you may have a little bit of rotation issue here. So we're trying to look at photos, and if they're not exactly straight, it gets tough to recognize it. Is the quarter perhaps a little angled inside the holder? This looks pretty good. Looking at the reverse, and this is slightly off kilter here. Yeah, I'd say you have a rotation, but it's not enough rotation to add a premium. Good looking piece, though. I got to give you that much. And we can look at a better close up. Here's the S, and we can see the space. It's not the 501 or 901.
I'm showing a PCGS 901 right now.
Oh, good. Let's get over there.
There you go, Chuck.
I can't really zoom in on it because it's the Coinfax picture. But
Okay.
as far as I can tell, the E and the S on this coin look the same as the photo that was submitted.
I'm trying to find it again. Here it is. There we go. I could zoom this in. I've got a gap here. I pull up a couple more just to have a look and compare. What you got here? I've got a 1964 under the scope. If I can bring that to straight up, we can see the gap. Let's see, what do I have to compare it to? It's about a third the thickness of the leg of the E. And your piece, it's about a third the thickness of the leg of the E. So now we're gonna make sure we get it straight. Which one's a type A and type B? So let me hunt around online here real quick because I can pull that up easy enough.
Lee said on the 2019 P. Kennedy have, he has one with the same hole as well.
Yeah, I've got you a zoom on the picture now. I just copied it off PCGS and threw it in Photoshop. And this one looks like it. Now, Ken, what you have on there now is a 64?
59.
It's a 59. Okay, this one is different from that one.
There we go. I should have.
But it is the same as that one.
Yeah, the wider separation is the B.
Yeah. This is what, I mean, I don't know anything about the quarters. I'm just going by what PCGS is telling me. And the photo I have up on my screen right now is the 901, what they're calling the FS 901. What I'm drawn to is the fact that the 901 image that PCGS provides appears to have a serif at the top of the S. And the image that was sent in does not appear to have that serif at the top of the S.
Yeah, see, I thought the type B was where the bottom of the S sits in terms of the E.
What year?
It's about the gap between the E and the S. The larger gap is the type B reverse. And is there any way to show that image again, Ken?
Yeah, I just have to talk and it should pop right up.
What year is it?
Okay.
1959.
Oh, 59. Okay.
And yeah, Chuck's right there. I see what he's talking about on his image. It's not on this one. I see no mention on that anywhere in any of the websites I just looked at. But the gap between the E and the S on the example sent in to us doesn't look as wide as the gap on the example Chuck has up.
There we go. I found it. I had a problem with the book. I was looking at $50. Okay, I've got the book.
I'm agreeing that the image that Ken is showing is not the same as the reverse I'm showing.
Yep.
PCGS.
Okay, 1959 FS 901. This is what we're looking at. The gap. The reverse die was inadvertently produced using a Type B hub intended for use with proof dies from 36 to 64. So I'm trying to find the proof 64 I have around here from 68 to 72. The Type B reverse exhibits enhanced eagle feathers, and we can zip over and have a look at that real quick. Let's see, screen, jump over here, and let's look at the feathers. And you got some kind of something going on here. It looks like a scrape on the head. And the enhanced eagle, what did it say here?
Looks like you have a crack running over those arrows as well.
Yep, you should have stronger leaves, and these look typical. And the feathers on the eagle, they're not helping any. I don't have any help on the eagle feathers. So I can't call it what you want it to be.
Wasn't there something about the leaves in the wreath or something where leaves?
I think over the arrow, like the leaf goes over the top of the arrow or something.
Yeah, the leaf is. It says I'm on WashingtonTypeB.com, and it states here that basically the description of the Type B reverse is very simple. It's a wider separation between the E and S of states. Tail feathers are sharp and well defined, and the leaf at the arrow tips was strengthened and rises above the arrow tips. The leaf below the arrow shaft was strengthened and touches the arrow shaft. The overall design also has more detail. And they're also saying that the Type B reverse was actually not a mistake by the Mint, but they just used the leftover proof dies because they ran short on the business strike dies.
And they did with some dimes as well.
Ken, can you scoot over just a little bit and show the A of dollar? Does that leaf touch the A?
This appears to touch the A.
Okay. That's what I have on the PCGS example. I don't know. I'm confused.
Okay, let's call it a worn die. Let's say let's say they made the proofs and pressed it into service. The leaf here under the arrow, dude, that's just about touching. Let me center that up. That's just about touching. Okay, now looking at the book, and I get the book here. There's the book. This is not touching. I've got a gap between this leaf and that arrow. That's a gap on the 901. And the example shown, we're touching, or pretty darn close to touching. So
Yeah, that leaf on that one covers a lot more area too, in terms of shifting over underneath of those arrowheads.
Yeah, I don't find evidence to suggest that this is the 901. I suggest this is the normal piece.
Yeah, the biggest tell for me is the gap between the E and the S.
There you go. Not quite enough. Well, it's a good looking coin, but it's not the 901. There is a little bit of rotation on it, but it's slight. Pull up Chris's die rotation gauge and you'll find it's less than 5%. Well, I see we got that one covered.
All right. I have one here.
That's Layla's, right?
This
That's
is Christian's?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't know Christian was Layla.
Let me just let her know.
There are two people in the United States with the last name El Gamal.
Yeah, you're probably right about that, Ken.
Okay. Whoops, oh my gosh, I wrote C-pin.
It's a C-pin.
Sorry, looking at your C-pin.
Do you want me to come back to this one then?
Yeah, can you?
All right, sure.
Oh, God.
Coin. Oh, brother. Oh. Thanks, Shay.
Sure. All right, I'm just getting these next images here. We'll do.
We'll look at somebody else's C-pin.
Yeah, we got a mail from Coin Searcher. Let me get the coin pulled up here.
Anybody want to buy a 1809 over inverted 9.5 cent? 800 bucks.
Well, that depends. Is it a C-pin or a coin?
Well, for you, I'll call it a C-pin.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Or riser treasure hunting toilet paper. Handy.
The Coin Searcher believes he found a 1963 DDO-01.
You think?
Can you please verify it?
Verified.
Absolutely.
I don't see it.
You don't see it, Chuck?
No, it's too far to the right. I can't see it.
Hey, Chuck, remember I bought one
see
of
the
these off you.
196. I don't see the 3 at all.
Oh,
It doesn't need to be bigger. It needs to be moved.
move.
Yeah. It's like
I
not
can
let.
see it. How come you can't see it?
All I see is a 196.
I was
There it
seeing
is. Now I see it.
Yep, that's a good one.
Definitely a later die state version of DDO number 1. It's a mid to late die state. I can see just a little bit of the bottom hanger of the 3.
Yeah, down below.
Yeah, you can see just a little bit of it down there.
If I've got it up on Variety Vista right now, on the early stages, your pickup point is going to be this this big bit right under the center of the 3 where it was doubled and under the tail of the 3. But this tends to get weaker, as well as the central bit gets weaker as the die progresses. And let's see, here's a stage B.
I see that triangle and I don't see anything else.
Yeah, that's the big one. You got a winner.
Chuck, I purchased one of these from you a couple years ago. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Out of the thousands of deals you've done since then.
Right. I marked that one down on my calendar. It was March 17th.
That could have been. That's the day after my birthday.
Your birthday's March 16th?
Yes, it is.
I'm getting out my handy dandy birthday calendar.
Ooh.
All right. Looks like the next one was repeats. So I'm gonna go to Trey, and I've got 2 pictures. Darn it. The question is, are these 2 woodies? I'm glad Ken didn't get a hold of this email.
Whose pictures are those?
These are Trey's.
Oh. Excuse me, I'm opening up rabbits.
No, that's what Shay has pulled up. Gravits.
Hey, see that on the left there, buddy? That's why you wear gloves.
Yeah, I was going to say that
I
looks
was
like
looking at the wrong place.
It's like a fingerprint to me.
That doesn't look like a fingerprint to you?
Oh, it is.
Olander, right?
Oh. Like I
Yep.
quit.
It just looks like a fingerprint.
It's a fingerprint C-pin.
It's a C-pin.
Let's see that other one, Shay.
Almost made me quit.
Wow. That one looks toned. It looks like some verdigris maybe on it. And I do see streaking. I can't tell if it's a woody or not.
No, it's not. And that's not woody. A woody is going to have color that is ingrained into the surface of the coin, and it is not in any way related to the design on the coin. The lines that you see on this particular coin lift where there is design elements, and they go around design elements. This is something that brushed against the coin after it was minted.
It was probably dug and they took something to brush the dirt off.
Yeah.
No, this isn't dug. It wouldn't have
No,
luster on it. No,
It what?
it's got luster on it. It wouldn't have luster if it was dug.
Oh, okay.
But this coin, most likely what the long streaks are that go vertically through the reverse design, those are most likely going to be from a coin roller, a coin counter, from the rubber roller from a coin counter. I'll spit it out eventually.
The straight line?
Yeah, straight line going north and south through the
Yeah.
reverse.
Yeah, he's saying coin counter, not roller.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah, a coin machine that counts coins. It uses a roller to grab the coin and spit it into the discharge.
Right.
And a lot of times that roller will leave marks on the coins if it's set too tight.
I never even thought about that.
So the answer is no, they are not woodies.
No and no.
Correct and correct.
So Chuck, I had a question on that one post where that I can't remember who it was that had that DDR. Now I know class 8 is the tilted, right?
Yes.
So the class, and the reason it's not the class 8 is because it's in the center of the coin, correct? The class 9 is
the way I've always understood it is that a class 8 happens when I need Ken's dies. Hey, Ken, pass me your dies.
on the conical shape, it would show at the perimeter, correct?
Well, actually, what a class 8 double die is when the hubbing process, the part of the multiple hubbing process, the hub or the die is not set plumb, and
Right.
so the hub kisses the die off. It only kisses the edge of the die around the edge,
Right.
and that is why a class 8, we call it a tilted hub doubling, because the hub or the die one was tilted off plumb, so they're not hitting each other straight on.
So that would be like 2011.
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Okay.
And the class 9 now is
Class 9 is where I call that shifted hub doubling, and I'm
shifted.
I'm the one who initially wrote that out, and I'm getting a little bit of
Black.
You might say blowback from people not agreeing with this, but the class 9 double die has happened when your single hubbing happens with the conical shaped die, and it starts with the die out of plumb, kind of like a tilted hub doubling. But in this particular case, the squeeze continues and the die snaps into place.
Right.
When the die snaps into place, then that moves that little piece of the design that was already hubbed over to center, and then it continues the hubbing. So what you end up with is a little bit of doubling right in the middle of the design.
Right.
This is what most of the doubled ears, almost all of the 2009 with the formative years with the doubling in the hand, on the fingers, and in the book. All of those are class 9 double dies. The ones that have the memorial in the reverse with the Lincoln statue and the doubling running up and down one of the columns.
Yeah.
Those are all class 9.
Okay.
The reason I call them class 9,
when he posted that, I called it a class 8 because I couldn't remember. If I would have said class 9, I think a lot of the people would have said, there is no, what are you talking about?
right, they would have. And
yeah.
The reason I went with a class 9 is because, first of all, the style of doubling that you're looking at with these double dies don't match any other class of doubling.
Well, yeah, because it's in the single hub process, it wouldn't.
Well, not only is it single squeeze, but also the appearance of these things don't match any of the other classes. Because a class 4 offset, you're going to have pieces of the design. You're moving the hub and the die north, south, east, or west.
Mm-hmm.
And then class 8, you've got it tilted. It's not hitting straight on.
Mm-hmm.
With the class 9, it could be almost straight on, but it pops into place.
Right.
Or the die could be loose. And when it starts to kiss it, it moves it out of spot. And then as it keeps squeezing it, it snaps back into place. And that it's obvious when you look at it, and when you look at a number of these, that this is a new form of hub doubling that doesn't match any of what we had back with the multiple hubbing process.
Yeah.
And so that's why I came up with a new classification to call these, because it's unfair to call these anything else.
Right.
Because it's unfair to the class that of the older double dies, and it's also unfair to these double dies to be bunching them all into the same heap. Because one of the things that I learned back when I first started learning double dies back in the 80s was the system that Conical used at that time actually had the class of doubling with the die number. Like for instance, the 1972 double die, the big one, was die number 101. and it was die number 1. It was on the obverse, and it was class 1. And that's what those stand for. The 101 is 1 obverse and class 1. When it's a class 1 hub doubling, that means it's rotated on center. So you know what you're looking for. You're looking for doubling all the way around the edge of the design, which is what the 72 die number 1 has.
And it's still like that in the cherry picker's guide.
Well, I mean,
the older classification.
For the cherry picker's guide,
Yeah.
no, that was a confusing mess.
They have
The cherry picker's guide used whole numbers as you went from one issue to the next, and then as they added new dies in, they would put point something, and then they would have to add more dies in, and they would put like a 0.2 and then a 0.25 and then a 0.27, and it was a total mess. And JT, rest his soul, would tell you that if you ask him why they switched from the old system to the new one, he said because the old one was an intolerable mess. That's exactly what he said about it. But the Conical system, when it was first developed, was really intriguing because you could tell not only what die number it was, whether it was on the obverse or the reverse, you could tell what classification it was, and if you know your classifications, you would know what details to look for. Mm-hmm. And then it would tell you if it's a double, triple, quadruple, quintuple die, because there would be a number in parentheses after the end of the die number. That would tell you whether it's a 2, a 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And when they changed the die number to simplify it and just say DDO1, they lost all that. You lose all of the classifications. You lose all of the all of the things that I thought were important to die numbers back in those days. When I developed my die system, I was trying to figure out a way that I could incorporate the die classification in the die number, and figured out that if I wanted a computer to be able to sort the die numbers, I could not include the classifications unless I was going to use different numbers for every different classification. And I couldn't do that either. I couldn't lump all class 1s, all class 2s, all class 3s together, because some years don't have any known examples of a number of the classifications. So that's when I dropped even trying to do classifications in the die numbers altogether. Mm-hmm. And then eventually came along and says, you know what? Not enough people really even understand the classifications. Let's just drop that, because too many people ask questions when you have a 106 for this year, and then a 102 for this year, and a 101 for this year. What's that last number? What does it mean? And the fact that it was written in Roman numerals was even more difficult for some people.
And you touched on something that people not knowing the classifications, I think that they need to.
Oh, for sure.
That needs to be emphasized a lot more, because once I started learning about it, it made things a lot more simple for me.
Well, I mean, if you're going to collect double dies or repunch mint marks, you need to know all the classes of hub doubling and what they look like, and you need to understand all of the different directions that we call on repunch mint marks, what they look like, and how to detect them. Because if you're collecting either one or the other and you don't know those things, you're basically collecting, Fords with Chevrolet interiors. You have absolutely no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
Until you learn these. And it's very fundamental to even understanding what you're doing with this stuff. That was the very first thing I picked up when I picked up John Wexler's book in 1984 and started learning from it. That was the very first thing I started really paying attention to, are these classifications and what the different classes of doubling looked like. So that when I knew that there was a 1916 Lincoln Cent with a 1R6, I knew that was die number 1. It was on the reverse, and it was class 6. Class 6 means you're going to have a lot of fatness around the outside edge of the design. So I knew what to look for even before I saw photographs of it. And when I saw the photos, it confirmed. I knew what I was looking for.
Yeah.
What you got, Shay?
But this is his authoritative guide, and it talks about all the different classes of doubling.
Yep.
And it has pictures and explanations. This is probably where I learned the most after his website.
So Shay, just to let you know, Layla's here now, just to let you know.
What was that?
The person Layla, who we were gonna look at her coin before, I had to message. She's here now. I didn't want to interrupt that, but
that book that Shay just showed was it was released in 1996, and it's written by John Wexler and Kevin Flynn, and it was released in 96. The single squeeze hubbing technique started in 1997. So
So
that's not going to include any of the single squeeze dies.
So what's
It also isn't going to include class 9.
Yeah, the single squeeze almost dictates that a new class has to be designated. You know,
it's kind of cool because this is the 2009 re-release, and it does include class 9. Or yeah, well, he calls it God only knows class 9.
Or is that the official definition of class 9? God only knows.
Yeah, God only knows. Yeah, that's right. But
I actually, when I penned it, I called it shifted hub doubling because that's exactly what it is.
right? I remember that.
It was either shifted or snapped.
No, I think it was shifted.
Well, I mean, I know it was shifted, but it was either a matter of calling it shifted or calling it snapped, and I decided to call it shifted.
But he does have single squeeze hub doubling in here.
Awesome.
And
I didn't realize that book had been rewritten.
Yeah, 2009 he re-released it, and then this is the God only knows class 9.
That's awesome. I had no idea that had been done. That kind of that's really nice. That's cool. It kind of validates my work too.
Validates it, yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense, though. It really does, because knowing the conical shape and how that gets tilted, that where that doubling would show up towards the outside makes sense. It's tilted.
Chuck, would earlier you said that one of the possible causes of those is something being loose and kind of snapping into place. Would that explain the fact that they are actually relatively common, especially the DDRs on the memorials? Because I mean, stuff wears out, and we hundreds of thousands of coins are minted with the working dies, and I would just say that they get loose. Would that explain the commonality?
Thought on that. My thought on that is that we're talking about going from a technique where the design was sunk into the die up to 8 or 10 times to a technique where it's only sunk into the die once. So your 8 or 10 times, usually subsequent hubbings would obliterate any doubling that would happen from that particular type of doubling on the first kiss, which you're only sinking in so much force just to get the center of the design done. And then you pull it all apart, you send it to the annealing oven, you send it back, and then it does more. You send it back to the annealing oven, bring it back, and it does more until you have the full design in the die. And what they're doing now is they're starting the process and they're using so much force, they just hammer right through all of it in one pressing. Well,
once done.
The fallacy to that is that if you have a mistake during that one hubbing, there's nothing that's going to cover it up because it's only one time. You don't get a second shot.
Do they still hub like this? I mean, I know that they're minting the coins in this direction now. Are they hubbing?
Hubbing is definitely up and down.
It's up and down. Okay.
The hubbing press is it's a box and it has a glass door.
Italian.
The die goes inside in a particular fitting, and the hub comes straight down onto the die.
Okay.
And you can actually hear it. Sounds like a shotgun going off when it pops into place because of all the pressure and all the massive force that's going on.
I didn't know that was also switched when they switched to this direction in the minting process. I didn't know if they also did that with the hubbing.
Right. No. Yeah. Creating dies is a totally different process from minting. So they're still created basically the same way up and down. Now what we're talking about with these class 9s is the mere fact that the only way that you can get this little piece of design in the center is in my estimation, or the way I'm thinking of it, is that you're starting these dies out with the conical shape. You can see that on Ken's presentation right there, that he has what CJ made as a beginning of a die, or that's basically what the dies look like before they're hubbed. And when you start pressing down on the die, you're only pressing the center of the design. And if that's not adjusted properly in the machine, as you're pressing down, it's going to pop itself into place. And when that happens, usually you'd pull it off, you'd go and kneel, you'd come back, and you'd press the design in again. That center design area gets hit 8 different times or 6 different times, however many times it takes to hub the design in completely all the way to the edges. But now you're only doing it with one pressing. So if you've got doubling in that central area of the design, it's going to stay there. You're not going to obliterate it with another hubbing.
Now the question came up of why so many of these class 9 double dies. Why so darn many? Well, the machine that hubs is separate from the rod they're cutting the darn things from. And well, you're going to go through a lot of rods. If you got one rod, they're going to cut die after die after die after die from that one rod. And if the radius of this rod is slightly off, you would have a whole slew of the darn things which would be put into the machine and not be quite NASA tight. And I think that it's that whole series of dies cut from the same rod that's slightly off size that would allow for that snap inside the hub press. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I completely agree. But I think one of the reasons why it seems to be so common now and it wasn't common before, it didn't happen before, is because of that obliteration and the subsequent hubbings. Whereas now we've only got the one hubbing. And I think it was relatively common all the way back, but the subsequent hubbings got rid of it. They took care of it. And now we don't have the subsequent hubbing. And so you've only got that one shot at making it right. And if it snaps into place, then you're going to have some doubling in the center of the design. And I'm pretty sure probably one fourth, I would say, of all dies made have some small amount of doubling in the center of the design. Whether it be something that you couldn't pick up with a 30x microscope or whether it be, really nice major doubling, that's entirely different. I also still think that they do partially kiss the die and pull up and redo something and then go back to doing it again. Think about the Duke Ellington quarter. That's not possible with a single squeeze. You've got letters that are lifted and moved. So I mean that has to be a multiple hubbing of some sort. And there's other ones. There's Lincoln Cent dies that have a lot of doubling on them that show a particular shift or rotation that wouldn't be possible just by a die snapping into place once you start the hubbing process. So class 9 is not the only classification of doubling that can happen with the same squeeze. But I do contend that class 9 cannot happen in the multiple hubbing process. So it's a subset thing.
Jay, you have another email pulled up?
Yeah, Layla's, right?
Yes, I have playlists. Let me go over.
Then we're going to answer this one, then we'll move on to our, I guess, big discussion point for tonight.
All right, so basically the question is, hi, I'm not sure if this is damage post-mint or at the mint. There's a 90-degree die rotation and maybe more. If you need better picks, let me know. All right.
So if they need to weigh the coin, it doesn't look real.
I was thinking that myself. It looks very porous.
I was going to say it was Doug, but
That's what I thought too when I looked at it. I thought it was very corroded looking.
and add some cleaning in.
Mm-hmm.
I'd weigh it first just to be sure one way or the other. If it turns out not to be the right weight, everything that you see on it's because it's not a real coin. If it turns out to be the right weight, there's a different answer. And that would be that
If it's been in the ground, the weight's gonna be off too, right?
Not as much. I mean,
it won't be off by much.
Okay.
of a grand.
She said she'll weigh it right now.
Stop copying me. Thanks.
I have to give her an A for effort. She sent a total of 22 pictures.
Yeah, she's in a lot of pictures.
I want to be sure you know what you're looking at.
She loves this coin, so.
1854 quarter with arrows.
Yeah.
You show the lower left of the feathers on the bird.
So is this the same? Is this the same coin? This set of photos and the other photos?
Lower.
Yeah, both sets are the same sets. I pulled a second set of other photos. This one, Ken, down here.
No, by the foot on the left.
Something with the leg feathers.
Yeah, I question the authenticity of the coin. This does not come anywhere close to the design. That
She
long.
says it's 6 grams,
All right.
5.9.
Screen. What I'm looking at is this bit here by the leg. I've got 1, 2, 3 feathers on this piece, and your piece is showing a single. Well, actually, a couple of lines. The design does not seem to match anywhere close to what it should be, particularly right here.
Yeah, I see that too.
So I'm really drawing that, and this is. I don't see any amount of wear that would cause that. Now I'm looking at the upper feathers. Let's see here.
Should weigh 6.22 grams, according to Bowers.
She says it weighs 5.9.
It's I don't think it's a real coin.
Yep, I'm there with Chuck. The porosity, the details aren't matching up. The weight's off. All indicators say it's not real.
The claws curl too much.
Yeah, look how far back those claws curl.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a major no-no there.
Yeah, the curls on the toes. It doesn't work. Not genuine.
Layla, where did you get this coin, may I ask?
She didn't get it from me. Just saying.
Yep, Frank is saying it's fake as well. Fugazi, Mr. Coin Dragon.
She said she got on
Fugazi,
eBay over
anything
a
like
year
a
ago.
C10?
Hey, are you guys comparing the right year?
I'm looking at 1854 arrows at date, no raise.
Up to 58. Kind of 58 pulled up.
Yeah, because the 1854. I'm on PCGS.
Okay.
Type 4, no motto, arrows at date, and on the left claw, the left side of the coin, the claws are curved under.
Okay. All right. I got a different date, and I'm seeing.
I want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples here.
Yeah, we got an apple here, and I do have a single long feather and another one interior to that. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so same thing with the eye. The eye looks a lot better. The eye looks a lot better too with that.
The beak looks odd though.
That's Bowers. Wish I could. Well, I can. Hold on.
This is her same coin.
This is in Bowers' book. Picture of the same coin. Yeah.
Frank's saying,
I don't know. The part that's bothering me the most is between the wing and the leaves. That little section along the leg.
Right side or left side?
The eagle's right side. So in this area. You just don't have that definition on the real deal. All right. You guys ready to move on?
Have we come to a conclusion on the coin yet? I mean, where are we with it? I don't like the porosity personally, and I mean, the weight's not too far off. It could possibly be a dug coin. Where is everybody else?
100% fake. There's just, as far as I'm concerned, silver doesn't pit like that. Silver doesn't turn black like that. And
you're correct. I mean, I've dug silver coins out of the ground, and many people have, and they look good.
Silver doesn't pit like that. The denticles look wrong. The design looks too soft, and the weight is far enough off to tell me it's fake.
Sorry, Layla.
I don't like it one bit.
Yeah.
The hand, the wrist, there is no detail here. Is it a result of environmental damage? Is it a cast copy that was subsequently abused to hide all the marks that it's a cast? Hold on to it, but I'm not favorable. No, it's missing too much.
Layla, there's a few real easy tests that you can do to check for silver content. I mean, not to say it couldn't be a silver counterfeit, but you can do the ice cube test. You can do the magnet test. There's a few easy tests that'll tell you whether or not it's silver. And obviously, when I say the magnet test, I don't mean just sticking a magnet to it, but if you've ever slid a coin or a magnet down a silver coin, you'll notice that there is a little bit of resistance there. It's an easy tell. The ice cube test works really well. Silver is a good thermal conductor, so an ice cube will melt much faster on a silver coin than it will on a clad coin. Those are two easy tests you can do to check that out.
All right.
We can use this one to springboard into our key topic for tonight. And it's going to be, do you think there's an ethical problem with Facebook groups and other online platforms in terms of sales and information?
Yes.
Let me say this very, very clearly. Yes.
Yes, with a side of yes, dipped in yes, fried in yes.
Wrapped in bacon, yes.
Only
Wrapped in bacon,
Hell
yes.
If you
See?
don't believe there's an ethical problem, you're deluding yourself.
See, this is the answer I get all the time, and this is the question that nobody wants to talk about. I've never seen this question talked about anywhere.
You want to know if there's an ethical problem? Go join one of the Facebook coin group feedback groups and look at the length of the blacklist. And those are just the people that were caught doing unethical things. Just look at the amount of names on that list, and it's unbelievable.
I know of at least 2 specific cases where there were people kicked out of reputable groups for being non-reputable, who just went and created their own groups and just started another group to sell their wares the way they want to. Because
Chuck, there's a few groups that are run by numerous blacklisted people. They all gathered together and they all run groups with themselves. I mean, it's absolutely crazy.
Do we cheat them, and how?
It's akin to organized crime when they do that.
Okay, so I want to start with a little analogy here that I like to use about some of these unethical practices that are going on. We'll just say that there is a baker, and you're going to go online and buy a batch of cookies from him, let's say. So the pictures that are posted, they're nice, they're pretty, they look like nice, fresh baked cookies. And the seller, and you go on, you buy some cookies off of him, okay? The seller knows that these cookies are old and they're stale and they're not any good. They're leftover stock, so he sends them to you. You open up the box when you get them, guess what? Cookies are moldy. What's this akin to? Someone selling a clean coin. They know the surface on that cookie is not good, or the surface on that coin is not good. They doctor up the photos, make them look pretty, and when you get it, something's not right. I don't want moldy cookies. I don't want cleaned or damaged coins, or misleading.
Well, and I'll follow that by saying that it isn't always people trying to mislead. A lot of times it's people who they don't have a clue what they're doing. They don't have a clue what they're saying, and they don't have a clue what they're selling. And they're just out there doing it. And there's other people who don't have a clue following them because, well, they have a group, or they're a moderator, or they're an admin of a group. They must know what they're doing. So I'll buy from them. And you end up with the blind leading the blind. And then you get people who actually are leaders in the community who know what they're doing come along. They're ignored by the people who are doing the selling because, well, it hurts their sales. And so they don't want you around to hurt their sales.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, Chuck, because every once in a while we'll post some bad eBayers in the coin op group, and I think it was twice now. Those people were actually members of the group and noticed their posts being bashed, and they tried to defend themselves, and it just didn't end well. And in both cases, I remember specifically that they honestly just did not know what they were doing. They had no clue whatsoever. They couldn't even spell doubled die properly, and they're selling these things. The problem is there's so many uninformed buyers on eBay as well that these people aren't really getting the hint that they're doing something wrong because people are buying their stuff for, high premiums. It's not even good stuff. So it's so hard. These people tried to defend themselves till the end, and they both ended up getting blocked from the group because they got nasty. They just couldn't get the fact that they were wrong about what they were trying to sell and trying to pass off. And it's really a shame.
If you don't know what you're buying, don't buy it. If you can't identify that coin as a DDO on your own with the information provided, don't buy it. If the guy's calling it a triple double die, let's question that. There's terminology that's effective. If you have an error or variety that you're trying to sell, explain what the error is, a clipped planchet. You can't just say error coin, $300. That doesn't work. At the same time, if you're buying, you got to know what it is, right? If it's a double die, which one? Which double die? The 1964D double die reverse number 1. It's very particular and specific, and the markers should be self-evident when buying the coin, when looking at the coin.
Did anybody see James' question, James Harris, a while ago?
No. Blue's just posted it here.
Yeah.
We can answer that after we get done with this conversation.
Yeah, it's easy to pull one over on the public because we have an uninformed public, especially when you get into varieties. It's still a small niche. People find it fascinating and interesting. And geez, here's a great coin for only $300. There are not that many die varieties that are going to draw that sort of premium. But if you're selling it, you should be able to to identify it explicitly, right? Lots of catalogs out there, copper coins, Wexler, Variety Visa will have a complete listing with pickup points, die markers, everything you need to identify that coin as a seller and as a buyer. And if you're one of them and can't do it, stop. That's adding to the confusion.
Buy my double die, my double dyed.
My triple double die. Look, I got a
So is there a solution to this?
look. It's a clipped planchet. No, it's not.
It looks like a cookie.
Buy my dyed pins.
So Paula brings up the solution about trying to cut out this ethical issue that we have. And if you don't see the ethical issue, you're just oblivious to a lot of the stuff that's going on. That's kind of a nice way to say it. That's a kind of blunt, nice way to say it. So what we about the only way that we can change this is kind of what we're doing now. You have to educate the coin community. You have to educate the folks that want to learn. I think that's the number one way that we can combat a lot of this. You know, the people that, there's a prime example of a website that wasn't treating people that wonderfully, that was sending in images to them. So guess what? I'm not going to recommend that site anymore.
Uh-oh.
Chris knows what I'm talking about.
I know all too well what you're talking about, and you know what? I finally sent the guy that runs the website an email back, and I wasn't nice at all. And I told him that I'm not going to be bullied any longer, and he's not even being close to professional. And it's not just me he was bullying; he was bullying many other people that I know personally. It's ridiculous. And I have not ever received a reply to that email. So I think he knows what he was doing was wrong.
So I saw some of the stuff that was going on. That is unethical. Some of the way people were treated. So, you know, I'm not gonna.
The fact of the matter is, he was picking on images that were more than good enough for that website, and you compare those images to many of the other images that do get published on that website, and they're as good, if not better. So,
I don't Comcast images on your website.
I don't care if they were bad images sending them in. That does not excuse you for treating the people the way I saw people were getting treated. No, I will not stand for that. No, thank you. I want nothing to do with that site.
I'll give you a perfect example of that, Christopher. I sent him photos 3 or 4 times trying to fix the issue that he said I was having with them. I finally, this was when I first started, I finally reached out to Ken and I said, he won't accept these photos. Can you do something with them? And Ken said, let me try. Ken came back and had them published within a couple minutes.
They're still up there.
And last night, all this time, I had thought that Ken had tweaked them somehow. He hadn't.
I'll ask you, Paula, I will ask you this, though. Was that when there was also another gentleman involved in that website? Because at one point in time, there was another guy, BJ, who actually never gave me any issues whatsoever. When he left is when my problems started.
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. It was JC that was contacting me directly.
Okay.
And Ken, just last night, I found out that Ken had not tweaked those photos at all. He said he might have cropped them a little bit.
Cropped them.
And sent them back in, and they were published within minutes.
Here you go.
You know, I was sending images that I was using 3 different cameras from. Okay, I was using my iPhone camera, which nowadays an iPhone camera is just as good as most other cameras you can get. Images from both of my USB microscopes as well. I was being told the color was off. It was out of focus. And I forget what the third one was, but I even took the same images. I posted them on numerous groups, including numismatic photography groups, and they all agreed that the photos were decent. Okay, they weren't perfect by any means, but they were decent. So I was starting to wonder, is this guy going blind? Does he have a personal vendetta against me? I'm trying to figure out why I couldn't get these images published. And then I got an email. He apparently saw some comments I made in one of the groups I was in about I was kind of downplaying some of the things that were being posted on that website, such as, you know, certain die cracks or die chips that I just felt it was not really that relevant. And I guess those comments that I made kind of pissed them off. And ever since then, it's been such a hassle. I just gave up. I mean, I have probably hundreds of coins that I could submit to that website to help improve that website and make that resource better for everybody. And I just refuse to do it now because it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah.
See, my issue wasn't with the hassle. My issue is some of the email responses coming from said individual. That's where I draw the line in that. That's it. I don't care if he thought the images were good or not. That's no excuse for the BS that was getting spewed. Just put it that way.
Well, sometimes people just have a bad day. First thing, no matter what you do, you have to treat people well, and really give it the extra bit to treat people excellent. I'm not particularly good. Sometimes I get grouchy, but I do my darndest to treat people at least well. You can't do hate calling. You can't do that. It looks bad. It's no way to proceed. If you're trying to get your coin across to somebody, if you can't explain it accurately, take the time, because geez, it's gonna pay off if you take the time and do the research to find out what the hell it is that you have to sell. And if you're not doing that, you're not getting top dollar. So take the time. And for the buyers, the best way to beat all of this, to beat the unethical behavior, the inaccurate selling, the hustlers, the swindlers, is to learn. An educated crowd, an educated buyer is a better buyer, and they're going to be a whole lot happier in the end. So don't just go out and buy the darn thing. Do the homework. Watch the shows. Watch the videos. Read the books. Study what you're buying, because when you get into higher end coins, you know, over $100, over $500, over $1,000, you're going to start to get into some money. And before you get suckered, before you get swindled, find out what the hell you're doing.
So I do a lot of research on coins when I'm getting into them, and I find that there's, you know, a dozen videos putting out incorrect information for just about every coin and trying to find the right one. And there's a mix of especially varieties where they're lesser well known and not documented. It depends on what site you go to. There's just not the information on the more modern coins available at this time, or valid coin lists. So, but I also have a problem with all these videos that are constantly spewing, you know, this coin's worth $16,000 or this coin's worth $500,000. I see value in attracting an audience. However, I think it fuels their excitement to rush out and try to find a valuable variety or error. And those same people make the mistakes of buying the coins that just say valuable rare error coin, you know, buy it now at eBay, and they buy it. And so I don't know which things are fueling that, but I do know that educating the coin collectors and the general audience is important, and as is a up-to-date, reputable source of information that is mediated, moderated, and made sure is correct above all else.
And when you're going out, if you want to find your ethical sellers, that's what you want to do. You want to find your ethical sellers. So, you know, you want to look into, you know, there are people where if I'm selling stuff, People ask for references all the time. I give them references all the time. I have no problem with giving a person a reference with someone else I've done business with. Ask for references, look for feedback, ask, return policies, things of that nature. Get some information from the seller. Get to know that seller. If you think the seller's sketchy, don't buy the coin from them. Don't buy the coin from them.
Well, if I may, there are some of the groups like the Coin Op Sales group that vets their sellers, that you have to be approved to sell there. The Vault and the Virtual Coin Show are roundtable groups, and they vet their sellers. And in order to sell there, you have to go through a process of application. In either one of my groups, Ken talks about he can be a grouch. You want the consummate grouch, come to me. I'll kick your ass out in a New York second if you sell crap in my groups. And so the people who sell in my groups, they know what they're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, I'm going to tell you don't know what you're doing real fast. That's the job of the moderators, the admins, and the owners of these groups. And the ones who are just allowing anybody to sell anything for any amount of money, they're not taking care of the groups the way they should be. And so, I personally think that there should be a call for blacklisting groups and not blacklisting members.
I agree, and I have one. I'll start that list.
You'll start the list.
And the thing is, people make mistakes. Sellers make mistakes. Buyers make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But it's what you do after you make that mistake that shows you what kind of person you are. I've sold things already. I've sold, there was a few items I sold. Anybody remember those old Honey Bear banks? They're actually collectible themselves. I've sold those filled with wheat pennies. I packed it as good as I possibly could, and it smashed. Well, guess what? I returned that buyer's money fully. They got to keep the wheat pennies, and I gave them their money back fully. You know why? Because it's my fault. I didn't pack it well enough. And that's what separates the good sellers from the bad sellers. You got to do the right thing all the time, even if you're going to lose money. And that's just the way it is. That's the risk you take when you sell stuff.
If you're going to start a business selling coins, you have to have a satisfaction guarantee. If your customers aren't happy, full refund, no questions asked, send it back. It's not a problem.
That's right.
Because if you don't stand behind your product, ain't nobody else will.
Yeah, I know. My return policy says no refund on return shipping. But if something came up and there was something wrong, I would refund everything completely. I think the only time I had an issue was I sent a wrong date Mercury dime, and they were fine with. I just wanted the cost of shipping a new one, and they were fine with just paying the melt on the wrong one I sent.
Ken, you can't smoke weed on live air, man.
That's tobacco, and not very good tobacco.
Blunt. Can't smoke a blunt.
You say blunt, Paula?
I did. Who said that?
So I would say that
man.
a seller's return policy will tell a lot about how they do business. It's a good way to spot a seller. Now,
no refund, never. You can walk away from that one right now.
Open this flip and you don't get a refund. Come on.
Well, I was telling Ken earlier that one thing that makes me very happy right now is because for a long time, Ken knows, I was making myself a nervous wreck with all these bad sellers on YouTube. Like just, oh my gosh, did you see what he was selling? What is that? Oh gosh. And it was just driving me nuts. One thing that makes me very happy is these new sellers coming in, offering great quality stuff at good prices, and the coins are what they say they are. That is going to, the bad ones are going to go by the wayside quick if this keeps up, because there's not going to be any room for them. And I'm super happy to see it happening. Ken always had great stuff. Robert has good stuff. Now Chuck's on. Mantic sells like incredible coins at, in my opinion, too low prices. But Anyway, I shouldn't say that because there's a couple I want to buy. But anyway, it's awesome to see these great people with great coins using this platform. It makes me super happy because now there's, we can refer people to them, and word will get around. So it'll get around fast, and these other channels will fall.
We will see more sellers, guaranteed. As people learn, they can go from the static image on websites or Facebook groups and into this sort of venue where it's completely unvetted. You can just start your channel, and you don't have to worry about administrators. You don't have to worry about moderators. You don't have to worry about being vetted. Just do your thing right here live. Show off your coins, sell them, get paid. Right? PayPal is a click away. And geez, you can do anything you want. There's nothing to stop you. So we're going to see more, guaranteed. We should see scores, dozens, perhaps hundreds of sellers come on and marketing to wear. But what's going to happen is the less effective sellers, the less ethical sellers, they're going to fall by the way, because you can't fool everybody.
Yeah. And figured out that people should only buy from people who have a good return policy. And if they buy a coin and they don't know for sure it is what the seller said, and that seller has a return policy, look at all these people on the panel here that they could show a photograph of that coin to, and if it's not what the seller said, return the dang thing. Make these sellers accountable. Make them accountable. Take advantage of these return policies.
Like Chuck said earlier, there's a bunch of groups that vet the sellers, and the Coin Op Sales Group is one of them. But one of our requirements is that they have a return policy.
Yes.
When we vet that seller and they say, as far as returns, I don't offer returns, well, I'm sorry. You either change your policy or you're not going to be an approved seller. And it's that simple. If you make a mistake in your listing, which probably won't get approved anyway, because most sellers we do on an approval basis. But if you make a mistake in your listing or whatever, you got to stand by it.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things we had before that group even went live.
Yeah. And it could be as simple as that, getting the word out. Don't buy from people that do not have a return policy, period. It could be that simple. Because why wouldn't they have a return policy?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, of course, you make mistakes in listing, and in the listing this or that. Sometimes you catch it before a bid starts or a buy it now happens. Sometimes you don't, and you just fix it the best you can.
Right.
On the cameras?
Whose wife was that? Was that yours, Christopher?
No. Mine would be much louder.
Chuck.
No, definitely not mine. Mine's asleep.
Somebody said, "Are you on camera?"
Baby, are you sleeping?
I know it was.
Wasn't me. Otherwise, someone snuck in the house.
It wasn't Ken. Adrian.
Coin Hunter said something on YouTube. When PayPal or eBay has to get into a refund deal, then you get your money back and the seller gets a warning.
That's the other
impression
thing.
that PayPal has changed their what policies when it comes to coins, currency, precious metals. Does anybody know exactly what that is?
No, I've never had to deal with any of that, so I don't know with that stuff changing.
I remember a while back, everybody was going crazy because PayPal changed their policies, and the way it was worded almost made you think that they would no longer back any transactions that were made on coins, currency, and precious metals. Actually, Frank's saying it right now, collectible versus bullion. So I'm not sure how that works there. So you got to be very careful. You can't always rely on that as a backup plan because it depends on what you're buying, I guess. So if you're,
Yeah.
if you're a buyer and you're using PayPal as your cushion, and you might want to read up on their policies because they have changed within the last year or so.
The biggest unethical thing I see is sellers convincing people to pay with friends and family. That's the biggest thing. Or paying with Venmo or some other non-trackable payment source, in essence.
They're just going to end up paying the price on that.
I see it all the time. Oh, I knew better. I shouldn't have sent them friends and family. No.
Yeah, they're trying to save 3%, and they're going to end up cutting their own throats.
Well, I think there was a thing that PayPal was going to start charging the seller for returning friends and family or something. It's like, come on, it was an accident. They did, you know.
I'm almost certain I remember reading something that if you try to charge the PayPal fees to someone, this is another thing people like to do. They like to they'll say friends or family, or if you want to do goods and services, you pay the fee.
The 3%.
That's actually illegal. That's against PayPal's policy. So
3%.
if you do that and get caught, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I see that too.
JC brings up the point. He sees people selling coins and giving grades on coins, but very, very rarely they mention detail, something like a damage, a cleaning, and so forth. Yes, that's the issue. That's a big issue I see. If I think the coin's clean, this or that, it will be marked in there. If it's not, somebody's going to call me out on it. Just put it that way.
Well, and not only that, like you can't, have a coin that is a good and call it XF, or that is maybe an XF and call it an AU. Like they're and a lot of the really good sellers, if they are going to grade a coin, they might grade it one step down, or like instead of because I've seen stuff on eBay, and they call it a very good, and it's missing like half the freaking design on it. It's like that's not even a very good. That's an about good if on a good day. And
PO1.
What's that?
PO1.
I've always been stingy on grades since the start. I remember times where I'd post coins and coin op sales and trades, and Ken would send me a message. Oh, that's you have that way undergraded, because I just trained myself from the start to be very stingy and very, in essence, undergrade stuff. It's better to be undergraded than overgraded, in my opinion.
Yeah, you suffer if you're not getting the top price, but your customer's going to be happy. Boy, this is a wonderful coin. Always make your customer happy, and they'll come back. If you sell them an XF coin and it's good, they ain't going to come back. For all the hard work and time and effort it takes to get one customer, you really would like to see them come back. So you got to please them. And if you're giving them, substandard goods for top money, they're not going to come back. You're cutting your own throat. Ethics, dude. If you think about it, they work to your advantage to have a high level of standard in everything you do.
You know what? That makes a good point, Ken. And I have a regular customer who I have a package set up right now for her. She has it on an ongoing basis. You like to do those add-on sales, right, Ken?
I love it. Jeez, the shipping's already included in there.
So it makes perfect sense. It works great for both parties. But she let it slip the other day. Their birthday's coming up. So you know what? Right now, it just came to my mind. I'm going to slip a nice little surprise in her package.
I've done that before.
That's good business. That is good business.
Whose birthday is it?
That would be Dana Boyleave.
Oh, Dana.
Yeah.
She's a good poop.
Yeah.
Yep. She's a great person. She's a good buyer. She's a great member of many of the groups I'm in.
I've done a lot of business with her as well.
She deserves it. So I'm going to give her something nice, and and that's what you got to do once in a while. Heck, I even do it. I'm a coin roll hunter, so I'll even get gift cards and stuff for the bank ladies to keep them happy.
So she has a birthday in June too.
Kind of a cool month.
So she played that same game with you, Chuck, huh?
She's mine. I seen her first.
Okay, so we can hop back to James Harris's question. He says he dug a 1916 Standing Liberty quarter, and he's asking about the mintage and if it's the most sought after quarter in the U.S.
I don't even know if he's still here.
His mintage, he said, what, 59 or 57?
59.
52,000, I think.
Yeah, it's 52,000 actually, and I would be highly suspect of that just because of the mintage numbers. I'd love to see pictures of it.
Yeah.
Possible. I'm gonna say it's possible. I know Tim Ashton has had a 1916 in the PCGS holder I've been eyeing up for a long time. You just gotta make sure your die markers are right. Pretty much any 1916 you want in the slab for the most part.
Yeah, but that wasn't a dug coin.
No, that's the thing. I mean, finding those in the ground that would be pretty special.
Yeah.
Not impossible, but pretty special.
Yeah. Do we have any more emails?
Oh, we got tons.
Oh, there's going to be tons.
Yeah. All right. I do have one by Clay Gravitt.
Good discussion, everyone.
What's that?
That's a good discussion, everyone.
Yeah, it was. This appears to have a doubled eyelid that I don't see in Copper Coins, Rite of Easter, or Wexler. What does the Brain Trust think?
Do we have a year or any other pictures?
1940.
I mean, I can tell you where I go with it. If it's in line with the regular eyelid, there are a lot of times they're going to be flattened down a little bit on the end, and it's hard to tell a difference between whether it's doubling or a very slight shifted machine doubling. And I don't call them doubled eyelids when they're directly in line like that. This is a mix-up. It's kind of one or the other.
I've got that coin on the screen, and if I look at the bridge of the nose, this looks like a little bit of MD up here.
It does.
I was looking at the lower eyelid. The lower eyelid and the upper eyelid usually match each other, and I'm kind of seeing it there too.
Yeah.
The only double eyelid on 1940 that I find on Variety Vista is DDO number 4, and I've got what looks like 2 separate marks on this coin. It does not line up with what Gravitt's sending in. Okay. Over on Copper Coins, I've got the same darn one, I believe, number 2. No, he's got 2 of them, and they're also definitely distinctive and different from what Gravitt sends in. But I can't differentiate what Gravitt sends from MD. There's something there.
Sometimes it's really hard to tell, and that eyelid does look a little too short. So it looks to me like the secondary, what you're seeing as the doubling, is actually a portion of the regular eyelid that has been flattened down.
I just sent one I found recently, a 1960 large date doubled eyelid that is also unlisted. Maybe we can compare to see the difference between the subject coin and the one.
Which, by the way, would be a Class 8. Just saying.
A doubled eyelid?
Yes, you said it was a Class 8.
Class 4.
I thought you said it was a Class 8.
No, these are all Class 4s.
Oh, I gotta mute. Hang on. Sorry. Damn.
Bloop, 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 bloop.
Geez, now I'm going to get a copyright strike for that.
Oh.
Okay, I think Shay has a photo pulled here.
It's funny. John Claggett just said, let's not talk about that, Chris. I'm still upset at myself. Apparently, he has come across these many times and just shrugged it off as something else. And when he saw mine, I'm very certain that mine is a true doubled eyelid that's unlisted. He said he's found the same thing. It's nothing, Amber says. Well, let's find out. Let's let the people be the judge.
I've got two things to say.
Yes.
The first thing I say is I concur
With?
that it is a doubled eyelid. The second thing I say is that I have run into a number of these that I've skipped over simply because there wasn't enough on there to show for markers and other things that would help anyone else identify that double die if I did list it, because of possibly die state on the coin or where, or there might be some wear or a lack of specific die markers. And so I skip over the ones that don't have really good die markers.
Okay.
So if this one is a relatively early die state and has good die markers, I would probably list it.
I'll tell you what. How about I take some pictures of what I would consider some die markers?
That'd be fine.
And
I see what looks like might be a die crack up on the forehead.
On the forehead, yep.
So you say I'm gonna pick your brain. You say this is a class 4, the double, right? The offset.
Yes.
I'm confused about
Okay.
because why this wouldn't be a. I know that because class 8 can be. Are you saying class 8 can't be multiple squeeze, multiple hubbing?
Class 8 are multiple hub. Class 9 cannot be.
So the tilted is,
Yes.
but it can't be single squeeze.
What was that?
It can't be single squeeze, right? Class 8. Okay, to explain the difference between 4 and 8, in some where I can understand what you're saying.
Okay.
And,
A class 4 is offset.
right.
So take an image and then move that image north, south, east, or west, and press that image again, and you'll see doubling.
Okay.
Okay. And it will be, regardless of what part of the design you're seeing the doubling on, it's going to be in the same direction no matter what part of the design you're looking at.
Right.
So if, let's say that it's the complete design is class 4 double, you're going to see, for instance, you're going to see doubling to the northeast on the BERTY at Liberty. You're going to see doubling to the northeast on the TRU of Trust. You're going to see doubling to the northeast on the 19 of the date.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see doubling to the northeast, maybe on the eyelid or on the nose or on the bow tie. But it's always going to be doubling to the northeast.
So
because doubling on that particular one was offset to the northeast.
then why is this only on the eyelid?
Because it's close to the center of the design, and an earlier hubbing was offset, and then it was corrected, and later hubbings came into the die in the normal place, leaving that little eyelid there. And
Just the eyelid and taking everything else out.
Right. And the
Okay.
reason it's still there is because it's in a very protected recessed area.
Okay. Because I get that it's all in the same direction. That I get with the offset. But my question was, why would, if it's all obliterated, why would just that little portion still be there? So that's, I think, where I got confused. Because I could see it happening with the tilted, where it'd just be that one area, like in the memorial, but this has me confused. Not anymore. It makes sense now.
Right. Let me share my screen here. And when you get around to me, you can just take a look at my screen.
Now, did you say, though, that the double ear was a class 8?
Doubled ear is class 4. That's
But
offset.
that's on a high point on the coin then.
And that doesn't make any difference.
Low point on the die, there's nothing that'll reach into obliterate it.
You see this, Paula? You see this eye in the photograph that I'm showing now?
Yes.
You see how it's a very clearly doubled eye?
Yes.
This is the same thing that happens with the other doubled eyelids. They're just not as obvious because they weren't as heavily hubbed as this one was.
Okay.
So it's offset. It's moved off to the northeast. It's not rotated. It's not pivoted. It's not distorted, distended. It's not a different design. It's just
Right.
moved to the northeast. That's offset. It's class 4.
But you're still seeing a little bit of that on other parts of the design, right?
The doubling?
Yeah.
Other small parts, yeah. You can see
Yeah.
it on the top of the 1 and the 9. You can see it in the T of trust. But for the most part, no, it only shows in a couple of spots on the design.
Okay. I'm gonna have to read more about this because it's still a little like I'm fuzzy on it. I mean, it just is not clicking somewhere with me. So
Here's another one.
Hey, if this was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
what?
I said if this was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Oh no, no, I know it's not easy. I'm constantly like studying this stuff. You know, it makes more sense all the time to me, but I constantly am like researching stuff.
This 1955 right here, this is also an offset. It's a class 4 offset. It is doubled on the 1 and the 9 of the date.
Mm-hmm.
It's doubled on the eye. You can see the obvious doubling on the eye, and there are some parts of the lapel coat that are also on the lapel and the coat areas like that are doubled. But the ear on this is not doubled. The back of the head's not doubled. It's selected areas that happen to be hubbed during the hubbing that was offset that show, usually spreading from the center of the design toward the outside. If it's in the first hubbing, it's only going to cover up to and the area around the center of the head like the eyelid. But if it's a really late hubbing, like the 1936 die number 1,
right,
that's a class 4 offset, and it shows in trust, it shows in liberty, it shows in the date, but that's because it was a later hubbing. When it happened, the die face was flatter then, and the offset hubbing showed much more clearly.
Okay.
There's another one I can show you.
Chuck, here's a question for you, and this is one I could never wrap my head around. And it's kind of same thing with machine doubling, but on that one you just showed, the 1955D.
Yeah.
Why is the doubling so evident on the 1 and 9, but the 5, which is really relatively close to it, shows no doubling?
Look at Ken's desk. You see the conical shape of that die?
Okay, so it's because of the conical shape.
Imagine that halfway flattened down, and then the other half of it's still a cone.
Okay.
So you're going to get doubling on your 9, but not the 5.
I got you.
Yeah, see, I understood the class 4 as far as like the 83 and stuff like that. That I got. But with the eyelid, just having it in that one spot, that's where I got confused between the 4 and the 8.
Okay. The difference that with the 1930 or the 1983 double die reverse.
Yeah, that's all.
The doubling is in a later hubbing.
Okay, right.
So given that it's in a later hubbing where the die was almost flat already, then you've got more of the design offset.
Gotcha.
Each subsequent hubbing
that I have up on my screen here,
it flattens it more and more.
You can see the 1 and the 9 is doubled. Okay. And then you can see the bow tie here. Part of the bow tie is doubled. And you've got a doubled eyelid to the north, but only the eyelid. You don't see the rest of the eye.
Right.
But then you've also got doubling here on the T and the Y.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a class 4. It's not an offset, but it still shows how you can see a piece of doubling, but not doubling in other areas. This one's actually a class 1 because it's rotated counterclockwise. You can tell because you go up on the date and then you go down on liberty. So that means it was twisted from somewhere near the center of the design.
Right.
But you also notice how the E in liberty has no doubling on it, but the R does. It's because the doubling happened when the die still had that conical shape. And the R was part of the doubling, but the E was not.
Gotcha. Okay.
Man, if this discussion doesn't help people fully understand some of these double dyes, I don't know what will. I mean,
Double
good stuff
dyes
right
aren't
here.
necessarily a one bucket case. I mean, there you can find all different kinds of double dyes that manifest themselves in many different ways.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest trick that I tell people to be able to tell the difference between a double dye and machine doubling is a double dye always has rounded off character. It always looks like there's actually other letters punched into the die per se. So if you're looking at my screen, you can see that the lower part of the T of Liberty is actually rounded off in relief, and it looks like there's two T's laying on top of each other there. Whereas if this was machine doubling, you would have a portion of a T that was scraped off or stepped down from the regular T, and it wouldn't have any extra character.
Yeah, it makes the device look smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a.
It would make the overall. I mean, the T's overall profile would actually be smaller to an effect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can work towards setting my screen up and show you something different that will help with that.
Chuck,
where it gets so interesting is because it's like a continual learning process. It just never gets boring.
I've been doing this for 40 years, and I still learn something new every day.
Yeah, Chuck, you made a post a while ago where you took a double die and you traced out where that design covers. Then you did the same thing with MD and compared them. That was a really good visual to see. That was a really good visual that I saw that you made
I've
before.
already find those images and bring them up.
Yeah, I kind of referenced that in that one back to basics that I did on mechanical doubling. That if you took a picture of like MD and filled in where that step was, the device would be the normal size that it was. So that was, I love watching that. And I think actually people have used it since you posted that. I've seen people post it. They've copied it, which is great.
Hey, if anybody likes tomatoes and green beans, Trey's Treasures plants are flowering right now, so it'll only be a short amount of time till he gets some fruit on there.
Yeah, he lives too far away. I know Ken's got some elephant garlic that I'm going to try to talk him into mailing me.
I'm going to go see if it's out there. Chuck is talking about the conical shape of the die having a lot to do with the way the doubling occurs. So I made a cone. Now I'm going to hub it several times. Now I've got here the flat part so I can keep it in the same direction. But if I hub that, but only partly, okay, I've got some of the design. Some of it, because of the cone shape, is not yet impressed into the coin. I'm going to hub it again a little deeper this time. I've got more detail, but around the outer edges, it's still a conical design. It's only when I finish the entire hubbing process, there we go, that I end up with the outer edge design over here. So you're going to see more doubling in the center, and that's where your nose is, the RTY, right, the bow tie, and why you'd have doubling on the 1 and the 9 and not on the 5 and the 5, because it hasn't been affected yet, or left a doubling here, and then it was subsequently the extra bits were added. Now, mechanical doubling, you've got the design already on the coin, but it bounces, right? So you're using the die to flatten what's already in existence. And look, you've got this flat surface, and all it's going to do is create a shelf, which is what you're going to end up with, if you could see this clearly. So MD leaves a shelf. It takes the existing design and squishes part of it, so it's going to be thinner. The raised bit will be thinner. The overall from one side of the design to the other will be normal, but the raised bit is thinner. Key indicator for mechanical doubling.
And I would probably add that the pressure used on the first hubbing could vary so much and probably represents the extreme of the doubling that ends up on the final result as well, right? If you have multiple hubbings that are too light or not heavy enough, I could see how that would happen.
Yep. Now, what I have on my screen right now is a double die. You can see that there's relatively clear doubling in the dot between the E pluribus and unum. There's a lot of separation line and extra thickness toward the rim in the E pluribus unum. And this is kind of an impromptu way of handling this, but I'm bringing this up in Photoshop so I can show you how I did this. Now, this particular image here, I've taken red and I've drawn red on top of all of the highest relief areas. And so then I took another coin. This is a normal coin right here. And a normal coin with no doubling. And then I took red and I colored over all the highest relief areas there. And now I compare them. And the comparison shows that one is obviously a double die because the letters are a lot thicker at the highest relief.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for this is because you actually have two sets of letters hubbed into the die. Now, let me show you what happens with machine doubling. That's machine doubling right there. You have a pretty decent case of it. In fact, that's probably one of the better cases I've ever seen. Now, you take that and you trace that. That's the very same thing. If you look, you can see that same die break in there. I just took the same picture. I turned it to black and white. I knocked its contrast down, and I traced around the highest points of all the letters. There's a normal 1957. So this one doesn't have any doubling of any kind on it. So now, if I can get my picture to come up, I traced around that one too. And so now I've traced the higher points or the lower, I traced where the letters meet the field on both of those. Now you compare them, they're pretty much identical.
Mm-hmm.
There's your difference between hub doubling and machine doubling as it appears on the coin. Machine doubling does not add any extra profile to the lettering, and hub doubling does. And if you wonder why I call it hub doubling is what happens to create a doubled die.
Mm-hmm.
And then we call the coins doubled dies because they are mirror images of a doubled die. And it is a doubled die because double die would mean more than one die, which is not correct. It's doubled die because of the design on the die is doubled. That's what I've got.
Hey, Chuck, I've actually thought about doing something exactly like that, only having a single line for the outline of the design as an overlay that can be used, not specifically for the date, but for some of those, some of those coins that to help answer, the question, is this MD or is this a doubled die, by having like transparent overlays that people can bring up pictures of their coins and then put this overlay over the top. And then, that would exactly show what you did, but having that transparent overlay to have a quick and easy. I've thought about that before.
That sounds awesome in theory. There are a couple of there are a couple of things that could kind of throw you off on that. One of the things that could throw you off is the idea that the picture may not be flat plumb, so that when you do the overlay, it doesn't match up perfectly. Because most of the time when I do computer overlays of images to check for positioning on RPMs or to check for double dies, I use a distort feature that allows me to distort it so I can perfectly match up the direction of lettering and everything else. And if that's not matched up perfectly, a tool that would show me where the lines are supposed to be could be as confusing as it could be helpful.
Oh man, I already see a whole video topic on how to use modern imaging software to help or aid in detection of double dies and RPMs, Chuck.
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure. I could show how to do an overlay, but the problem is I'm using full-blown Photoshop. I don't use other programs, and a lot of people don't have full-blown Photoshop. It's kind of expensive.
It is expensive.
Was it 300?
I have Microsoft Paint.
It's like $60 a month or something, right?
I don't know what I have.
I pay $50 a month. I've got the whole suite.
Yeah.
And I use a lot of it too.
Although I did see in January they offered a blowout deal to where it was only it was half price or something.
I was like, yeah, that's a good deal. Almost did it. Get a whole year up front.
Rivet, move on to some new emails now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got the next one loaded up. Well, almost. I just need to copy it over.
Imagine there's probably a good many emails left too.
Oh, yeah. This one's also from Gravit. And the question is, to me, there appears to be doubling on the three grassy islands between the two birds, which I don't see in either Variety Beasters or Wexlers. What do you gurus think? All right. So I've studied this particular variety quite a bit because I found a few, and usually you find little bits in this area here, in this area here, up in and around this area, but I don't see any particular except maybe this point right here. I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing. Maybe there.
Almost like a contact mark to me.
Yeah, I don't see it on this one with doubling. Only are questions where Shay got circled.
And there it is again. Maybe something there, but the picture's not quite strong enough, and there as well. These are hard. Now this stuff right here, if that's what you're talking about, that's normal. But you really have to pay attention to the little stuff. I have some examples over here, but
yeah, these are double dyes on the modern cores. You got to be counting hairs on them. That's the best way to put it.
They are minor. They are fun to find, and doing a whole collection of all of them would be quite crazy. But I think that sort of thing's fun. I mean, I would love to get every single known doubled die. But I also like finding different ones, right? Finding ones that aren't there and submit them to Wexler. So let's get that library full of as many as we can.
On this one, I'm going to say no. I don't see any doubling.
What's the date?
It's the Bombay Hook 2015 P.
There.
Delaware.
I would go blind if I tried to look for all those little tiny DDRs on those. I would.
Yeah, it's counting hairs. I don't tend to look at these. I just don't think they're significant enough. They are double dyes, of course. They're just not significant enough to endow my time with, at least.
All right. Anybody else have anything to add?
We get into what I call threshold of attributability. You know, you get higher power magnification, you can probably find a whole lot more varieties, but they're very difficult to find duplicates of because you're down into the very tiny, the very small. At what point does it become immeasurable or just not worth the time to attribute the darn thing?
Yeah, that's one of the things as the author of an attribution system for Lincoln Sense, I have to consider when someone sends something like a minor split serif repunch mint mark or a double die reverse that has a little tiny feather of a column sitting next to the statue in the center of the memorial. I have to think whether or not something like that is going to be attributable for other people, whether or not they're going to be able to tell that that's doubling in the first place, and how many more of these should I expect to be found, and then what kind of market value could there be?
Excuse me.
And
Oh, bless you.
and if it turns out that all of this is no, 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 yes, no, and too minor, and not really any value, then, well, why am I bothering going through adding it to a system that other people are trying to collect, and put the extra challenge on them to collect something that nobody really cares that much about? I'm trying to show what's collectible out there that has a decent amount of oomph power to it, something that is difficult to find, yet when you do find it, there's a reward for finding it because it looks nice. It's not one little fly speck minor thing in one little minor fly speck place. It has a little bit more character than that, you might say, and I'm stealing that from Bill Fiva. He has always said that when he talks about dye varieties and the Cherry Picker's Guide, the only reason he lists the ones that are the best of is because he wants just the ones with character. He doesn't care to list things that might be a fly landed on your coin. He wants something that has to be there, and you have to really know it's there. I call it grandma double dyes. They're double dyes that if I showed them to my grandma, she'd be able to tell you that's what they are.
Yeah, you know, collecting double dyes or other varieties is a niche hobby in and of itself, right? So when you start getting into these very minor ones, the amount of people who are actually looking for these and collecting these is so small that what is the significance of it?
You have the same issue in terms of the documentation of cracks and chips that I do. There's a threshold that you just have to be able to attribute, because most you're not going to be able to attribute.
1983, you got thousands and thousands of cracks. Are they worth it? No, I got a bucket of the darn things. They're not worth attributing. But what about, say, a dye chip on a pooping horse? They're kind of popular. Your grandmother can pick those out. People kind of like them. Well, that's the kind of thing that would be worth attributing, or at least mentioning, or listing, or having examples of. But when you get into the dye varieties as particular as well, the potential double dye in that quarter, we're into minutia here. That gets really tricky.
Well, and it really kind of boils down to the individual collector. When you come to something like a really minor double dye on a Wyoming quarter, if you like it, collect it. I'm not saying you shouldn't collect it. I'm just trying to go with what the masses are looking for. And to an attributor, to an author, trying to list every single one of the different dyes that might have a little fleck of doubling on it, it becomes an exercise in frustration and minutia, just trying to figure out, well, is this one big enough? Is it not big enough? Can I really tell what it is? Can anyone else really tell what it is? And it's easier if you just stick to the ones that you know for sure, that are easy enough to photograph, that are easy enough for other people to be able to attribute, and be done with it. And send everything else back and just tell them, hey, it's really just too minor to list, because I just don't really see enough there.
Well, yeah, there's two things I wanted to just point out, and that was you never know. I have friends that have stuck dryer lint from their dryer into a jar their entire lives, and that's just what they collect. They love
belly button lint.
And so you never know, like, you know, so I totally agree that collecting is all about the individual and what they want to do. But then there's also the other side of this where maybe if you have a whole bunch of one and you want to sell it, you come up with a cutesy name for it and promote it. And next thing you know, it's selling because it's got a cutesy name everybody knows.
Oh, the 1970 High D. Okay, compare that to a pooping horse.
Yeah. These could be gophers in the grass or something. I don't know.
In vernacular terms.
Prime example are things such as cracked skulls. I mean, this one, in all honesty, that cracked skull is nothing that I would classify as the ordinary. But the 55s are a blessing to where those dies are beat to hell, and you have things such as die marker. This is one that came from Chuck. You know, you have that die marker on the T, the wheat ear, and that S. And your biggest die marker on this die pair is you have a, it's hard to tell under here, you have a small clash under the neck.
No, I see it. Yeah.
Which is hard to get. It's in the flip. I'm not taking it out of the flip right now. But, you know, it's all these, and then, of course, across the bust, that's the one thing that wears away first, that crack that runs there. So it comes down to what do you view as worthwhile, at least. And for that one, it's worthwhile because you have your markers that you can match it with a die pair.
Well, you know, there's times when you could have a double die coin and it has, you know, it goes for a lot of money, and it's a highly valued, highly graded coin. And now you come across one, but yours has a die crack, yours has a, you know, the cracked skull, yours has, or something that differentiates it. There are going to be some collectors that say, well, they value the other perfect coin more. And there's going to be other people who say, well, I like the variety. But it's just different camps of thought depending on what you're after with the whole hobby of coin collecting. Are you after having the most valuable collection? Then your coin that's perfect is more unique, and you want it to be unique. You don't want it to be crowded with other errors and varieties alongside of it, right? Because then it's not really as unique.
Yeah, with what Christopher was saying, as the collectors have the mass, people have been doing it for a long time. The minor stuff, I agree. They're not going to care too much about that. Me, as a new collector, I look for those kind of things because I'm training my eyes to be able to see the little minute details in the field of the coin. So later down the road, they're easier to pick out.
John Claggett brings up the Delaware Spitting Horse. That Spitting Horse, you can put together pretty cool die progression on that Spitting Horse. How that crack, that's the crack that runs from the front of the mouth. It could extend down towards the rim, and then in later states, it'll run up the halter of the horse, up through the top of the head of the horse. So that's one that's trackable and highly collectible just because it looked cool, and people can find it pretty easily.
I think Ken stole my sign.
Oh, I'll send it to you. You know, you got die chips, die cracks, you got pooping horses, spitting horses, and then you got the double dies. Well, really, you can find leaky buckets, you can find snow on the roof, and it's practice. More than anything else, it's a way to start getting into the detail levels, which is going to lead into the double dies. It's great practice, and they're kind of neat varieties to begin with. But when you're into the level of detail to start noticing a fine die crack from a horse's mouth going down, you're getting to the point where hunting for double dies is just the next step.
Well, and oftentimes you can, you know, finding these little things is as exciting as finding a big one for a new collector. I think I think I agree with Ken where it develops your skill to be able to identify.
Yeah, it's actually
picture that, you know?
It's actually a lot harder to find these smaller ones than your big, bold, hop at your face varieties.
And not just new collectors either, man. You go through a couple boxes and get skunked, you're happy to find some die cracks.
Exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Some more emails?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's going to be.
All right, let me get the Roadrunners here.
Is someone else able to pull some emails too?
Oh, here I have Chris. I have Chris's that he had some people send him some. So let me bring those. So Chris had some from Yasser. Let me pull these in.
Yeah, this was going off of that $50 we had earlier. Although on the $50, that round dot was embedded in the coin. On this quarter, it's raised, and actually, there was numerous people that found this same thing going on. I thought it was.
I remember that.
I remember this stuff too.
Steer or something like that. They called it.
Yeah, they were calling it the pierced ear. Yep.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And it's right in the center of the coin. It's a perfect circle. It's really interesting, and it's on a bunch of coins. So it just reminded me when you guys showed that $50 earlier. It reminded me of this because the shape is similar, the size is similar. Unfortunately, this one's raised. The $50 was embedded or in Q. So
Yeah.
just thought it was cool. Who knows? Maybe this is going to be listed as a UFO.
Now I can't tell if there's anything on the reverse side on the same at the same location.
Well, we're going to eliminate damage right off the bat because this was found on numerous
Multiple coins, yeah. Hey, Christopher, this is another like head scratcher like Robert Lawson's Buffalo nickel. Did you see that one?
I don't recall. Maybe.
He just posted it a couple days ago. It's on CoinOp.
Yeah, I don't really recall that one. I've been with my new job. I've been limiting my Facebook time to pretty much the sales group and very little time in the discussion group. So I probably didn't see it.
Slacker.
There's only so many hours in the day, Paula. Sorry.
I know.
I got a theory on this one.
Many of them.
Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah.
And this is just out there, but this is just the way my brain is processing it. With that blank die with that conical shape, if for some reason something happened to that very tip of that die, that like it got chipped off or something, and then you pressed that because that metal is not there, would that create an abscess or would that create an artifact on then a surface of a coin that was struck with that die after it was hubbed?
Yeah, actually, what I was thinking was this was actually, if you're familiar with how a metal lathe works, this would be the area where the rod would actually be connected to the metal lathe itself. If anybody's ever seen one of those in action, they would understand what I mean. But
yeah.
CJ,
Ken, I'll tell you what, you are awesome with that Play-Doh, man.
you take the point off of the die, right? You just bang the top of that off, so you got this effect. There you go. And then hub your die. What's going to happen? Let's see if we can duplicate this and see if we can make this missing bit end up as some sort of blemish on the coin.
Well, metal's going to flow into that, first of all, right?
The ideal analogy.
If there's a missing piece, when it's hubbed, the metal's going to flow into that piece. And I would think that the design around that area would be weak.
Ken, I would like you to do something for me, please, with that Play-Doh. Could you turn that Play-Doh into a conical shape once more?
It's getting challenging.
You enjoy that way too much.
It's all about finessing the Play-Doh.
Ken Peavy, the master of Play-Doh.
You have to be one with the Play-Doh.
That was one of the best investments I ever made.
Yeah, you can take the kid away from the toy, but you can never take the toy out of the kid. Don't forget, please don't eat that stuff.
I know I have that myself. I had to
It is non-toxic though if he wants to eat it.
I can see he's developed some more advanced techniques at developing a cone shape there.
He plays with this in his free time.
Oh, it's a Hershey's Kiss.
All right, so now, Ken, I would also like you to take that conical shaped gray die piece, okay, and put it tip to tip and then slightly embed it into the Play-Doh. Yes. Okay, so if you can image that, maybe can you hold that together like that and place it on its side so we can all see what we're looking at here? So in my mind, this is how the die would be turned on the metal lathe, okay? It's going to be fastened at the very tip. So now let's say the red Play-Doh part is the actual die. The gray piece that Ken is holding is the machine. It's the metal lathe, okay? So take that off and now hub it and see what happens.
Well, I can't find my hub. I've been looking for it for an hour here.
Here, Ken.
So I'm going to be.
Also remember we're doing the single squeeze hubbing, correct?
Yeah. So I'm just going to press it once.
And maybe the pressure wasn't up to par. Well, that didn't work the way I wanted it to, but I think everybody knows where I was getting at with this. I think that dot in the center of that coin is from what we just tried to demonstrate unsuccessfully.
And the point that is that we are looking for a mechanical, I'm not going to say defect, but I'm going to say opportunity, a mechanical opportunity to explain the same element across multiple coins. Because if this process, this opportunity affects a working die, then a working die, every single coin that it strikes will have that same artifact.
I see what you're doing there, Ken. Yep, you're making that deeper.
Yeah. Well, one attempt is not enough to prove an idea. What we'll try to do is prove that it's possible. So we need a few different attempts.
Do you have a metal or something that's infused to reproduce the hub aspect?
Yeah. Look, it's got a point in the center.
Yep. See? And that was my thought from the get-go, and that kind of validates it.
But that's not raised. That's infused.
No, that's the die.
This is the die.
And then you strike that on the coins. On the coin, it's going to be raised.
That would be raised.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh. Okay, so it can be reproduced with Play-Doh.
All right, smarty pants. What about your $50 now?
No,
the $50 one, Chuck. I think you were on point with the hub being damaged in a similar fashion.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. But we're just trying to prove a theory to see is it possible, and we showed once that well maybe. Okay, we went deeper.
Does anyone have an example of die adjustment marks on a modern die?
None that I've ever come across personally.
How do
we know that these aren't some sort of die adjustment marks?
Ugly thing. What happens if we do this? I'm going to touch it with my finger.
Oh no!
I died a little.
Okay, I can see the profile of Kennedy, and I've got the dingle. I got the dingleberry in the middle of his head.
Dingleberry.
Well, it would be raised up on the coin.
Yeah. Another issue that we're having here is that this is a mere demonstration in theory, but of course the clay is a much different consistency than steel would be. So we have to take a certain amount of, a certain amount of liberty in our thoughts when we're thinking about what Ken's doing here. This is all by example of. This is what happens when we do it to clay. We don't have the machinery to do it in steel, and it would probably come out with different results, which could be much closer to what we're seeing.
But the steel isn't hardened at the point where it's turned on the lathe, though, correct?
But it's not as soft as Play-Doh.
No, you're right. It's not as soft as Play-Doh, but the machine doing the turning, I would imagine, is hardened steel. So you're using hardened steel pressing into non-hardened steel. So there is a difference in hardness.
Oh, of course. And I'm not taking anything away from what Ken is doing in the example. I'm not taking anything away from what you're saying. I'm merely saying that for the people watching who don't get it because they don't see the result in the clay that they see on the coin, it's because the clay and the coin are totally different consistencies.
The clay has limitations.
Yeah, exactly. That we're playing here.
We're getting deeper into the process, and it's not good enough in this case.
This is a high quality scientific demonstration.
Although it does tend to lend a little bit of credibility to the idea.
Of course it does. I like it.
So does it explain that bit on the quarter? I've done lost it. There we go. Is that it? Does it explain that? This coin that Shay is showing, that's a clear, crisp, well delineated circular blemish. Looks like a donut. And my couple of examples came nowhere near to establishing anything that crisp.
It would be kind of. It actually looks like a little point of paper or wood that I'd put in the middle of my paper when I'm drawing a circle with a compass, so the needle of the compass didn't poke through my paper.
Why would you do that to a die or a hub?
That's a good question. I have no idea why you'd do it to either one.
Mm-hmm.
Would be kind of interesting to measure and see if the two anomalies on the $50 and the quarter are the same size, one incuse and one raised. See if it was at least a similar tool or thing.
Where's Amber at with her overlays? Come on, Amber.
All right.
I'll move on to another email here.
Yeah, I've got John Claggett's question is just a lamination or a shatter die?
Just a lamination.
There you have it. Just a lamination.
It's a nice
lamination. Yeah, it's a nice lamination, but the lamination and the shattered die have nothing to do with each other.
Lamination is all in the planchet. Shattered die is, of course, all in the die. And what you're seeing there are little flakes of metal that will actually come off the coin, that you could literally lift off the coin. A shattered die, the metal is all going to be solid metal, but there will be places where the metal has seeped up into the cavities of the die, and there's raised lines on the coin, or raised, the appearance of cracks. Imagine a cracked sidewalk, and you take Ken's clay and you push it into the sidewalk. When you pull it up, you're going to have a raised line that is an exact negative duplicate image of the crack in the concrete. That's what you end up with when you mint a coin with a cracked die. The difference between a cracked die and a shattered die is the number of cracks.
Yeah, think of it like a lamination, like you put a piece of tape on top of that coin, where you can peel up those layers of that coin in layers. In essence, like peeling a piece of tape off that coin. That's in essence what a lamination ends up being.
Well, I kind of liken it to a biscuit. If you've ever made biscuits, you take
those biscuits. Yep.
You lay it out on the table and you flatten it out, then you fold it over and flatten it out and fold it over, and you end up with a whole bunch of little layers. And that's why really good Southern-made biscuits will flake off in layers.
Yep.
My food, I'm getting hungry, man.
That's what happens with these coins, because you end up with layers of metal that will actually peel apart because of the crud that's between them. And it's a matter of a delamination is what happens when you get dirt underneath a layer of the metal, and the force of the strike causes those to jog loose and peel apart.
Yep, and laminations and woodies are related. It's because there's different metals mixing together. They may not have mixed together properly, or like Chuck said, there's dirt or some other foreign substance in there where the layers aren't adhering to each other.
Very cool. All right. Coin Dragon has one that he sent in.
They sent in that 75S20 center.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought he was going to show off his 84 double deer again that he found.
I would. $20.
The question, let's see.
Mint mark.
This to me looks like an obvious RPM, but I appreciate a consensus.
I want to see down below cents.
That is an RPM. However, most of them are.
This is the most common die variety.
Yep.
You'll also see on the date, you'll see a repunched date in the dentals below.
Misplaced.
And he
Yeah, it's
has
a misplaced date. Yep.
There it is.
MPD.
MPD. So if you're hunting 20 centers, look for that one first, because chances are you'll find it. It's the most common one.
I have the die chart for the 20 cent, the 1875 20 cent on my video that I did for those. That actually shows the entire die marriage chart on it.
Even on a worn example like that, you can still see the notching on the top right corner and the bottom left corner. Very nice.
Yeah, see, most 75Ss I find them with this.
You can also see how the left and right sides of the mint mark are very straight because you're taking curves and moving them slightly and repunching them, which will create straight edges.
Oh, that's a good point. I like that. Nice.
It's actually a blunt edge, but a good point could do that too.
All right, let me grab the next one. Very cool, Coin Dragon. I love the 20-cent pieces.
Handsome piece.
Yeah, if you're gonna get one coin, get a 20 cent coin.
When I just graded one of these and earlier in the year, I sent one of these in for grading.
What'd you get?
We talked about the other night. Let me give me a second. I'll look.
I've given away a couple of 20 centers, and CJ got them.
Yeah, Frank, I see that rim ding up there around 2 o'clock. Still a nice coin though, buddy.
Looks like the beginning of a chop mark in the field too.
Would have came back in XF, I'm pretty sure.
Well, let's see. The next thing is a question as opposed to a picture, and it's from Coin Searcher. Question for the panel. If you have a red Lincoln cent, it automatically grades to 65?
No.
Not true.
No.
And then what does carbon spots do to value? Carbon on obverse, carbon on reverse, carbon on obverse and reverse?
Depending on size, location, and how deep it is, it can destroy the grade of a coin. It doesn't change the color of the coin, and it can take a higher grade coin and knock it to a lower grade real fast.
I got a great example right here. I just opened up this roll of 1964s, and you know they're mostly good. I do find a fingerprint on one or two of them, and if I put them under the scope, let's see, where's the scope here? But I've got, okay, not the method there, right there. I got some spots on these. Now these are no good. Goners. It's bright red. I got a few contact marks, but when I see spots, I'm going to put these back into circulation. They're done. There's a spot right there, a spot over here, one under the date, if we can get the color right, one on the rim. Kills it. in my opinion, I got no much. I want a red coin to be freaking like a brand new candy apple. And when they got spots, I have less interest. I'm not going to pay, even if the coin has no contact marks, right? I mean, it's MS65, it's uncirculated, it's red and spotty. I got no interest in the coin. I lose all interest altogether. I can go find a 65 that does not have carbon spots. You know,
I for sure agree with you on a 1964 roll, but if that were a 1929 roll, you might be thinking differently.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Modern spots kills it. Older wheat cents, it hurts the value, but it doesn't kill the coin's value.
If they're plentiful, then yeah, it's gonna hurt you.
It will do you no favors. These, they're bred, okay, they're mostly red. And they're mostly good. I don't have a whole lot of contact marks. There's one on the shoulder. This is probably 63, right? I got a little bit of chatter along here.
Hey, Jessica says carbon spots don't bother her, so we ought to send all of those to her.
Oh, her.
I despise them.
She's still learning. Leave her alone.
Eat them.
I seen her first.
These are going back into circulation. These are junkers. I eat the $1.50 I paid for it. Oh well, I eat $1 of it.
Yeah, Wild Bill's Hobbies had an interesting comment here on YouTube. He says, try finding a 2019 without spots. I mean, we've had discussions about the 2019 Ws that came out. They had spots actually that were even in the same spot.
Spots, yes. It had 10 and 2.
Yeah, so it's kind of strange. I don't know what their methods are for rinsing the planchets or whatever may be causing those spots, but a lot of the modern coinage coming out does have those spots on them, and it
seemed to be the people who got them, who ordered them right away.
Well, I've searched 3 full boxes of 2019 Ds, and I have found them without the spots.
Well,
but
these are on the proofs.
They have this strange. Every single one of them has this strange rubbing in the northeast section of the field, and it's a blemish. I'm trying to figure out what in the world it is.
Oh. Yeah, these were on the very first, the W's, the very first 2019 W's on the proofs, the clad proof sets, the ones that came with the clad proof sets. It was like 10 and 2. They had these, I don't know if they were rinse spots or a braided dyes. I don't know what those marks are on those coins. But the people, it's like I said, it seemed like the very first, like every day when people were getting them in the mail, they were posting, what are these spots? What are these spots? What are these spots? And like a week later, people were getting their sets and they're like, mine are perfect. I'm like, so does that make is mine more valuable because it's not perfect?
So the planchets or the blanks are put through a rinse as well, right? Or is that the only time? Are they rinsed after?
Immediately after production, after the electroplating, they have to rinse off the electrolyte, the fluid, the juice. They have to rinse that off.
But that's before the strike. That's after the planchets are finished and prior to them being struck.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's before they even load them in the truck to drive them to the mint.
Or my house.
Again at the mint.
But then again, could it be the robot that's loading them into the proof set thing? I don't know. I don't know what's causing those stupid things or what caused them. Whatever it was, they fixed it.
Well, you know, we've talked about something like this before in the past, and unless you're actually there running the machinery, you don't really know the true ins and outs of it. I mean, I run equipment, and the machinery I'm running right now, the humidity levels outside are affecting the equipment inside, and we have heaters and we have cooling lines, and and the cooling lines are condensing because of the humidity in the air, and there's water dropping on things that it wouldn't happen most times of the year, but right now with the humidity levels, it's happening. So there's so many little minor intricacies that I don't think anybody would ever know unless they are there every day running the equipment. So some of the things I don't think we're ever going to figure out, such as those spots on those coins and why they're in the same spot.
And why haven't any of those mint workers realized that they can make a lot of money by telling us these things?
They probably signed non-disclosure acts.
Yeah, job security.
Job security, right?
Yeah, NDAs. Yeah, NDAs are a blessing and a curse. Let's just put it that way.
But why does that have? They give tours of the mint. So, I mean, I don't think that kind of stuff would be secret, how it's produced, the production. I don't know.
The U.S. Mint has always been and will always be antsy on information they put out.
Yeah, because they're so scared everybody's going to copy them because they put out.
I don't think those things
product.
are meant to be, closely guarded secrets. I just think it's a minor, thing that happens and nobody really thinks about it until the person gets that proof in the mail and there's spots on it. And then by the time it gets to that point, it's just too late to kind of figure out what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. As Frank says, ancient Chinese secret.
Ancient Chinese secret.
Enough time in there between production and shipping. They said, okay, well, send it out. That's good enough. We're government workers. Send it out. And
They won't notice.
Redo them, melt them down or something.
Nobody will notice.
We'll just send. They'll be all right. That'll buff right out.
That's the thing a lot of people overlook. It's still a business. It's still a manufacturing facility, and there is, somebody somewhere has to make a decision on what gets recycled, what can make it out the door. Profits are involved. I mean, there's a lot of things involved. So,
Shay, you have another email pulled there?
Yeah, we've got one here that Cajun Coin Hunter sent in from Ramon Juan.
Can you take a moment and focus on Chuck?
Oh,
I know.
I was focusing on it.
We had that sign up for a while. Did you just notice that, Ken?
Yeah.
I was paid for the advertising, so.
Paid advertisement.
Okay, back to Ramon.
Whoever said you didn't have a sense of humor, Chuck, I don't know.
I don't know. It is a sense of humor. I'm just not sure how twisted it is.
The more twisted, the better.
You're going to fit right in around here.
That's right. Okay, what was this question? There goes Shay with the magic.
Is it a doubled die? It's a 1982 D, large date.
You don't see that notch at the bottom of the L.
The I is nice and thick.
I think that's the design
on these letters.
My first place to look on those 82s is the bottom, the lower part of that L towards the rim. There's a notch on that.
I'm not feeling the love here.
Me neither. It looks more like damage.
Yep,
flattened.
I'm definitely going to go with a no on this one.
There's a lot of little fine contact marks, and a lot of our northeast, southwest. Something drove over it.
And then usually at the top of the T, the top of the R on the left side, there's usually notches on those. The U, there's usually notching right in there. Right. Am I right? Correct me, Chuck, if I'm not right, please.
I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
Yep. Start with the assumption of damage when you find anything, and then prove your case otherwise.
Most of the time, your answer is going to be the obvious one.
damage, deterioration, something along those lines.
People send in questions and we answer.
This coin has wear on it too. You can see it on the cheek and on the jawline. And I think the top of Liberty is also kind of flattened out a little bit because of some scraping wear.
Yeah, the B is almost missing at the top. Yeah.
I would say that other than, you know, the obvious assumption of damage is use the resources. There are more than a couple of websites that have very good pictures that show the die markers and show the doubling that is actually on the 82 doubled die. And does your coin match those pictures? Do you have all of those die markers? Is there, you know, a die scratch across in front of Lincoln's nose? Is there a specific die chip on the reverse? You know, those individual elements that are indicative of that known doubled die. Match those up. If they don't match up, it's probably not.
Yeah, find the variety first. Find
The
the
other thing
double
to
first.
tell you with regard to this particular coin is that this is a large date, meaning it was the first design issued that year. They changed the design to the small date because the large date design was misshapen, because those letters were starting to fatten out a lot, and because those letters were starting to lose their definition. And this is what you're seeing with this coin, is you're seeing a coin that was hubbed, or you're seeing a die that was hubbed with a design that was all flattened out and all out of shape. And then the coin was made with that die, with that out of shape design on it. Your coin's going to turn out with an out of shape design.
What's going on at the bottom of that D? I think it's just damage, but
damage.
I'm seeing some damage, but a lot of what I'm seeing here is almost like an artistic filter on the image itself that really removes a lot of the actual detail. It looks like a watercolor filter or something that was put over the image.
It's a sharpening filter, but also with some of the quality of the photo, it's pixelated.
Yeah, so it makes it a little difficult to see the finest parts of the details. But I would go 100% with this being a normal coin. You've got a little bit of that fatness and everything from the large date design, and it looks like it's got a little bit of rash on it. It's seen better days, and it's a circulated coin.
That's a fender.
I just want to caution people, though. You know, CJ talked about matching coins up to known doubled dies, and that's great. You should definitely do that. I do it all the time. But don't discount that coin right away, because it could be a new discovery. There are new discoveries made all the time, even on older issued coins. So don't let that be the gospel.
Yeah, there are different die stages where those markers disappear and come into play. So
5 years ago, I discovered a nice double die on the obverse of a 1929 D Lincoln cent. So they still pop up once in a while. That was like 90 years old when I found it, or 80.
Yep, Robert Lawson had a nice one. What was it?
44.
44. Yep, that was a really nice one. And it makes you wonder, how did these go undiscovered for so long? But they are out there.
Because nobody cared until 20 years ago.
Yeah, true. But still, 20 years is a long time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But there's also billions and billions of coins. There's been 580 billion Lincoln cents minted.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of people a long time to go through all those.
Yep, we got them up. We got them working nights, though.
You better find it.
Do you mind if I have a question on possible RPM? I don't have any more email.
$1.
No.
Okay.
what did you say, Chuck?
Ouch.
Teasing them on $50.
Wow.
No $50.
$50.
1972D.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get this straightened out.
We got a split in the upper serif.
Yeah, and bottom serif too. Or I think it's just the bottom, which I was thinking matches sort of the RPM 009 that you have on your website, but I don't see the top serif so much. Let me see if I can get closer and focus.
I got it all out of whack showing that picture in the book earlier. All right.
I got one after you too that I want to show Christopher because he loves those unplated.
I'm gonna go with a pretty healthy no on that one.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it closer.
I concur.
That close. Ah, okay. Well, you know, second opinion always helps.
Hey, you want to see this, Christopher?
Sure.
I showed this last night.
Where am I looking? On yours or Shay's?
On mine.
That's
Oh,
Okay.
I'm looking
All I
right.
see is your 1909.
What?
Your camera
not
is not
seen.
turned on.
Okay, well that would help, huh?
But I do recognize that WDDO 003.
Yeah. I found that one a couple days ago.
See the cusp.
Okay, I see it now, Paula.
Oh yeah, we're on pause right now.
Oh, the unplated.
Interesting looking
So,
coin.
yeah.
96.
What do you think, Paula?
Can you
What?
put a copper coin beside it for comparison of color?
Yeah. Let me pull it up a little bit.
Oh, great! I'm knocked out. Who's doing something? Did somebody just go on something?
You're still there.
Oh,
We hear
okay.
you.
Sorry. Everything
Hey,
paused for a minute.
Gosh, I hate Hangouts trying to.
You know, right off the bat, I just don't like the look. I don't like the look of it. It just
Been
looks
cleaned.
like it was chemically stripped.
Yeah, it's been cleaned. It's been cleaned or stripped or buried in acidic soil that ate the copper off of it. I was off by 2 years. I thought it was a 96.
Yeah, that one's getting a big thumbs down from me.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not an error coin. I'm not sure exactly what is up with that, but it's not an error coin. That's been put through the ringer of some sort.
Well, I've seen some recent videos lately. A lot of people trying to talk about how to clean your coins and using different mixtures of different things, and this certainly looks like one of the results they had.
Hey, you know, I heard ketchup works really good.
I did a catch-up video and said, and when you're done, you have a coin that's worthless for all your effort.
Do not put them in the dishwasher
Guaranteed to make them worth 1 penny.
with a
lemon.
lemon pod. Do not do that.
There's a
Don't
pretty
forget
decent
Jet
chance
Black.
that coin could be a fountain coin too.
Yeah.
Here you go, Shay. Show off.
Oh, yay! 2014 DDO 3.
I mean, you can
Jeff?
send that one my way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty, Shay.
It popped right out of the roll, out of my one of my jars.
Are you doing that? Did you just find that as we're playing here?
No, I found it 2 days ago. One better shape.
That's one of my favorite modern double dies right there. I mean, I've found quite a few of those. Bob Brown was the king of these.
He's the king of these.
Michigan. He's found rolls of these.
Wow.
Bob Brown, I thought he was in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Oh, you're right. He is in Wisconsin. You're right. I don't know why I thought he was in Michigan.
Because you don't know your states?
Who else finds a lot of those? Is it Leonard or Chris Hurley?
Chris Hurley's found a few. LaKay has found a few. And I'm sure Leonard has found many of them. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take a circle. I found this. Okay, this is one of CJ's holders, but it's got a perfect circle, and I can press it into the Play-Doh, right? And I got a circle. But what if I shift that over and do it again? The inner part is going to show points here and here. The two circles are correct. but I got points. Now compare that with the 0 on Shay's coin.
Yep. Honestly, that's the easiest tell on those modern double dies on the date is the rounded devices inside the 0. Of course, this one jumps right out at you, right, Shay? I mean, naked eye, this jumps right out at you.
Well, after looking through about 1,000 2014s, I came across this one, so I was well versed in the pattern. Just the difference.
There's a couple there's a couple for 2015 that'll jump right out at you, naked eye.
Oh boy, that's my next jar. Yes.
Yep, number 6, number 9. Yeah, there's a couple of them.
I have a picture up now of one from 2019. It doesn't jump out at you at all, but now that you've seen one that's really nice, you can tell that this one is too.
Yep.
Southeast.
You know, Chuck, whenever you're ready, I have about 6 or 7 that are unlisted yet I'd like to send to you.
Don't hold your breath, cowboy. We'll get there soon.
And I have probably about 100 others that I planned on sending to Wexler at one point in time, but his lead time is so far out right now, I just can't. It makes no sense for me to send them.
I have about 400 in my own books that I haven't listed. My Lincoln Cent set is 11 4-inch binders full of 20 pocket pages, full of coins, all of them different dies, different die states, but all of them are die varieties.
Was there any more emails?
Let me see. I got one unread. Oh yeah, Bill 457 something in. Let me download these.
Like Frank just found another 1984, but not die number 1.
Listen, I'm up to drive up to New York where he's from and get some of the rolls that he has.
Hey, on your way up there, stop in Hazleton, pick me up, and we'll go together.
Okay.
Oh, I know what these are. What the hell's my examples?
Now, while you're at it on the way, just stop in Palm Beach and pick me up.
That's
only about 8
a little out of the way. That's a little out of the way.
That's not on the way, is it?
No.
Well, it is, depending on what way you go.
I'd have to loop all the way down, Chuck, all the way back up, pick up Chris, and then tack up to New
Call
York.
it a day trip. I'll pay for the gas.
All right.
Take one and keep going.
Bill 457 said, I heard this was crimp marks in the 1970D mint set. I guess he's talking about what's along the rim there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That looks like that came from the packaging machine.
Yeah,
That's what it is. Yep. So that's exactly what that is.
it crimps the package. Yeah, makes the little things on the edge.
That's what it is.
It's a shame, but you got ripped off on that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, that can only be called coin damage. That's another thing. That's another point that people bring up that I think is important to discuss is when is a coin in error and when is it damaged? If it was something that was caused by the mint. In one way or another, like if a coin was caught in a machine while it was being wrapped at the mint, you got a mint sealed wrapped coin or a roll of coins, and you break that roll open, you got one in the middle of the roll that was heavily damaged. Is that coin a damaged coin or is that a mint error because it came out of a mint roll? Well, here's your answer. A mint error happens during or prior to the strike of the coin. Damage happens after the strike. So if it's something that happened after the coin was struck, then it's damage regardless of whether it was done by the mint or not.
The moment that it's pulled off with the feeder fingers and dumped into the bucket,
moved along. All that is damage.
I've got one in the mint packaging right here. I'll put under the scope real quick. And you're going to see that. See those little lines? That is the crimper. It's this thing.
Oh, that's an extremely rare reeded coin.
There it is. It's damaged. It has a little bit of novelty value, perhaps, because it's still in the packaging, and you can see where the coin stuck through the packaging and got rolled over. Dude, this is a tractor marks. It makes a great example for teaching us all.
Yep.
So it really shouldn't be called post-mint damage. It should be called post-strike damage. PSD.
Well, this is damaged still at the mint, but the coin had already been minted. It was a great coin until it got drove over by a machine. And here you can see exactly where.
Yeah, so post-mint damage is after the coin was minted, not necessarily after the coin left the mint.
That's a good point.
Post-mint. Post that coin's mintage. That can be a misconception.
Where I think we are splitting hairs at the definition of mint.
Yeah.
We're not talking about after it left the mint building. We're talking about after the coin was minted.
Yep.
Post-strike chamber.
How's that, Chris?
All right, Ken, that image you just had up, that I find it interesting that you can actually see the outline of the coin on the edge of that vacuum strip there.
That's where the coin stuck through the packaging. It was just off one side when they zipped it, when they, put the press or however they seal the darn things up. Yep.
Thank God that wasn't a Cheerios penny.
Cheerio.
What's this? Put that here. Nope, it's a goner.
In the world of mass production, there will always be quality issues.
Blame Henry Ford. That darn assembly line.
Other than the alligator getting a hold of it at the top left, it looks like a pretty decent coin.
Chuck, you have any alligator problems down there?
I got alligator problems every day. Someone actually filmed an alligator crossing an intersection yesterday.
I think it's a big one too.
He was using the crosswalk.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's going to go viral.
The way
instead of illegal gators.
Was there any more emails?
Well, he was headed toward the bank. Somebody told me he was an investigator.
Oh. Yuck, yuck, yuck.
That should be on like dad jokes. If anybody ever watched that show, Dad Jokes, you ever see that?
That was.
I get the Cheez-It box for that one.
That's going to be out of proper.
Okay, deflect. You're deflecting.
No defense.
Stick with the day job, Chuck.
But
I got one here. Let's see. It's from John Claggett. Says, "Is this a die clash?" And it's a 1925. Let me pull it up here. How do I pull it up here? Screen. There, 1925 S penny, and he's got this bit marked right below the date. So we're gonna get in there and take a look at it. Die clash. So I want to see what 1 cent, perhaps on the back, but that would be 0N E. That doesn't quite line up with the E. The wheat ear would be over here towards the side.
Yeah, it'd be towards where the wheat ear is.
More. How do you get to the next one?
You have to open the next one.
It's open. I got 37 pictures here.
Wah, wah.
Okay, here.
Where you gotta click on the next one because that's
Something raised here. This bit here. This gets my attention where I seem to have this dark line that goes all the way to the edge. This looks like a die crack more than anything else.
Coming right off the tip of the 9.
Just about. And
Where I would expect to see a die crack.
Yep.
But I don't remember any 25S dies that have a crack like that. Doesn't mean.
Yeah, I don't have any on records that go from the 9 to the rim.
Looking at the color of this, it looks a bit woody. Could it be, instead of a clash or a crack, I'm going to go with the idea, how about a bit of a lamination?
I would agree, except that lamination, if it was one, is perpendicular to the grain of the wood, which
that could go this way. Correct. I agree. Here, it looks a bit raised.
Yeah.
I don't
know
a hard
on
time
both
seeing
sides.
this,
It
but-
looks raised on both sides. I think
That's reminding me of
through or a damage.
I got the same thing going on, Chris.
The 50s, you know?
It looks a little bit like Robert's discovery there.
You think?
Yeah, it looks like it could possibly be a 9.
Ooh, John, all those doubled eyelids that you threw away, maybe you just made up for it.
This would be a tremendous find in such case.
If it were a 9, I mean, it's not the best image. I know that people don't have the equipment to take perfect images, and I'm not blasting the image here, but by all means, it's not something I could use to specifically diagnose something like this.
That image right
Can
there.
you go down farther? Can you go down further?
And that does seem to match the curvature of the 9.
That's exactly what I saw. That's why I was thinking that this bears possible investigation for that, because it looks similar. Looks like it could be something.
John, send that to Chuck if he'll look at it.
Yeah, cd@coppercoins.com.
Send that to Chris.
Chris.
John said he didn't toss this one, so good thing, John.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say something about that, John. You know, when you come across something that you're just not sure about, put it aside. It's not going to hurt anything. You know, heck, we do this every Thursday, so send pictures to us if you're not sure about it, and if it's interesting enough, somebody like Chuck or myself or somebody else, look at that 1934 Chuck brought up. That's the Robert Lawson discovery, right?
No. This one's much older.
No. I'm sorry.
Roberts was a 1944. This one is a 1934. Yeah. It's in the Cherry Picker's Guide, and it's been known for a long time. And at one point in time, it was believed that was the outside edge of the 3 and then the point of the 4. But then when various people started doing overlays of it, they realized that this is actually the 9 and the 3.
Cool.
Yeah, Mike, I wouldn't toss a 29S back either. But what I'm saying is, if you come across an anomaly like this that you're not sure what it is, just put it aside, take good pictures of it, post it in the groups, bring it to this discussion, let other people take a look at it.
What was on the bottom of the S?
I saw that too. Who said that? Ken?
No, that was Blue saying that. Here's the best shot I could have of the S.
He doesn't have any better pictures than that?
No, Ken did have a better picture. You had zoomed in on that anomaly under the 9 right there. Almost looks like a notch on the bottom left of the S there, but up a little bit with your arrow.
From that image right there, I can tell you that's not a die crack.
Yeah, it's not.
It's the edge of it is too soft. It's too straight. It's too curved. It's too perfect. It looks like something that was pressed into the die. Now, whether that's damage to the die or an actual 9 hubbed into the die in the wrong place, is still a question, but it's definitely not a die chip or die crack, die break, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, John, I would either send this one out to somebody that can take a better look at it, or put it aside until you can get some better optics. But it's definitely interesting looking. Frank, I'm not sure it's struck through anything because it almost looks raised on the field there.
I've got a bright spot on the leading edge. I've got a bright spot on the leading edge of the 9, bright spot on the leading edge of the vest. This is raised.
Right. I just, on that one picture you had, it looked like there might have been another raised area to the left of it, which made me think that maybe it was a gouge or a strike through.
Shay, how good are you at doing
See on the left side of
overlay?
it? Right there. That's what I'm seeing right there.
I can get
Well,
a
that
shot
actually extends up to the right too.
if I can get a good image to clip. Get me the best image of the curve that you can find that shows the 9 as well.
Hey, Chuck. John wants to know if you'd look at it.
I'll discuss it with him.
Okay.
Well, this overlay may tell us something right here. If we can get this done, maybe we don't have to.
I still think it needs a better picture though. I don't like
Well, I
that.
definitely would need a better picture to do anything.
Yeah.
To do anything much with it, but this will at least give us a shot to consider whether or not it's even possible. So if you want to, anybody wants to watch what I'm doing, they can just watch my little thing down in the corner.
John's saying it's not raised.
Huh?
John is saying it's not raised.
But it is not raised?
That's what he's saying, but I'm not sure how you could determine that other than looking at it. I mean, in the images I'm seeing, it appears to be raised.
He doesn't have it in hand?
All right, Chuck, what program are you using to do that?
Photoshop.
Adobe Photoshop.
Oh my goodness.
Man, I mean, that bright spot seems to line up with that curvature of the 9 exactly.
To me, now that I'm looking at it, it looks a little straighter than the edge of the 9. It looks a little.
I'm looking at the bright areas, starting at the bottom tip of the 9.
Yeah.
The brightest spot there. When you do that second image there, I mean that is lining up to me.
Curvature's a little bit different.
Yeah, it is a little off. I mean, it could be that I've got it tilted wrong.
He said he's held it for about a year now. He said it's not raised.
Well, if it's not a raised mark, I want to know what's creating that lighted edge on it.
Pushed metal from a gouge?
It'd have to be a scratch in the coin, and we're looking at the inside.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any abrasion.
My best bet now is it's a true mystery coin. Once it gets looked at and put under a pro scope with a good filter on a camera, take a really good picture of it for an overlay, we could tell more.
So blurry.
It is a little blurry. It's also really difficult to tell exactly where that mark is, exactly how long it is, if it extends down over the coat or not.
And I think some of that improper alloy mixture is kind of distorting what we see as far as the curve, maybe.
It could be. And I've seen things that look absolutely beautifully convincing, and then when I actually get the coin, it's like, is that even the same coin? And then I get other things that I was totally not convinced. People insist they sent it to me. They sent it to me when I get it. I'm like, wow, you were right. So looking at a photograph is really, really chancy with regard to calling something one way or the other.
Ken, do you remember last year there was a gentleman in the coin op group that had, I believe it was in 1983, which appeared to be a double die reverse, and there was strong notching visible. Do you remember that?
We've looked at so darn many.
This one, the pictures the guy provided were, I can't remember his name. He sent me a bunch of coins to look at, but this one in particular was so intriguing. It had really visible notching on the motto on the reverse. And he sent me the coin, and I put it under my scope, and there was nothing there. And it turned out it was just his lighting. His lighting was on an angle, and it created the notching effect with shadows, and it looked so good on the picture, but under my scope it was just a totally different story. We thought it was a new discovery, and it was really exciting, but it wasn't.
All right, Shay said we have some more emails that came in.
Yeah, all right. So let's start with Roadrunner. I thought that this coin looks doubled. What do you think?
We're looking at the one on Shay's screen.
Yes.
On that would be no.
Uh,
And the why is that there's no extra width in any direction on any of the characters that would give me any thought to them being hub doubled. So what you're looking at, that dark line along the top of the letters, is one of two things or a combination. One thing could be that that top ridge was rubbed, and it was rubbed a little bit shiny, so the light reflects differently off that one area. And so you're seeing the light shining off the areas directly next to the highest ridge point. The other thing it could be is using two light sources to light the coin for the photograph and giving it the appearance of doubling.
Looks like it's in the flip too.
That, and it's under plastic, yeah.
Yeah. This looks a lot like that image I took the other day, Chuck, of that 1960 with what you would guess would be the ejection doubling.
Yeah.
Oh, with the line, yeah.
all right. Well, the next one, it comes from a new one to our chat. It's Coin Collector Ohio. Let me add these in. This is a 2015D. I do not have pics of the back, but the front I do. There's Mr. Pimple Popper when you need him.
Right here, baby. Right here.
Toothpick, and you're going to see some neat stuff.
Right here.
You'll be able to press those little blisters.
Let me add it.
They're plating blisters on a Zinken.
Now, I will say that although this is not an error, an extreme case like this, I would keep. Just because
it's a keeper for a collection.
Yeah.
Just like a conversation piece.
Exactly.
The cause of this is that the zinc planchet, after the zinc blank was rolled up into a planchet by the upset mill, it goes through a bath where it gets a copper electroplate on the outside. And if there's dirt, grime, or anything on that zinc, when the copper is splashed over the top of it, for lack of a better word, the zinc has a tendency to rot or corrode, which makes it expand the copper plating on the top and basically develops blisters. And those blisters are what you're looking at.
Yeah, the technical term is linear plating bubble or linear plating blister.
Well, linear are the long ones, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, linear assumes that it's in a straight line.
What a lot of people call this particular effect is orange peel.
I like to call them leper Lincolns.
Yeah, leper Lincoln.
I don't know, but I want to pop the crap out of that. That's all I know.
All right. The next one.
For real.
We have from JC Will.
Hypoblastomas.
Yeah, go.
He says, all right, let me get the image loaded.
That's the
Hey,
sound.
thank God you got your stuff together, man.
Who, Shay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Shay's the king of these pictures.
He is.
JC Will says, I found this the other day. Is it mechanical or is it doubled? I have not found anything on it.
All right, first, the whole idea of the term mechanical doubling is a lot longer than it needs to be. It's just machine doubling. It was doubling caused by the machine during the machine making of the coin. The whole mechanical part is just lengthening the word just to make it longer. And that is machine doubling.
It appears on the same side of all of the devices, and it's flat, shelf-like, and it reduces the design.
Exactly.
The mint mark as well as the date before 1990.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a good example of machine doubling. So great to compare others to.
Also has die scratches on it.
So what's your point, Chuck?
I don't have one. I never have a point.
You can't just throw that out there and then be silent.
What?
I'd also like to point out, can you go through the picture? Okay, there, the LIB image. Once again, you're seeing the machine doubling on the bottom of the B, but it's not so evident on the L, I, E, or R. I just find that interesting.
All right, the next one, Bill457 says, is this a shadow or machine doubling?
Where am I looking?
I don't know. I'm looking myself.
I'm guessing.
To me, it looks like a lighting issue.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any machine doubling, any dye deterioration doubling.
Well, there is a
true
little bit of,
doubling.
there's a little bit of dye deterioration doubling in the fact that you've got glowing on the outside edges of the letters. And that's basically the deeper flow reflecting more light. So there is dye deterioration doubling to a certain extent, but all dyes start to deteriorate and look like that.
There it is, I think.
That looks like a lighting issue there. That doesn't look like doubling of any kind. Hard to tell.
Try turning the coin 45 degrees, 90 degrees, spin it randomly, and see if you can detect it with the light coming from a different angle.
Now, one of the problems with some of the USB microscopes is the stands that they come with force you to have the scope on an angle, and the built-in LED lighting on those scopes will also be on an angle, and it creates shadows, which often confuse people.
That's also a small date, 1974. You're welcome.
Nice. That was it. That's the last question in the box.
I was just having fun.
Hey, I'm going to send you a message.
All day they keep sending them in.
Who? Me?
Yeah.
That's a clear board.
Anyone else have anything else they want to talk about tonight?
I'm good.
I'm hungry.
So I know we've been going, close to 4 hours now?
Yeah.
That's a productive day.
Yeah, that's a good discussion. Thank you, everybody, for sending in your coin pictures and questions. Thank you, Shumar, for hosting us. It was awesome. Love the topic.
Well, here we go with Melissa with the damn caps again.
Mike White says, didn't even know there was a small, large date, 74. There's 4 dates with a large and small date. There's 1960 P and D. is 1970. Only the S has a large and small date. You know all about the 1982 large and small date on the P, on the D, on the copper, on the zinc, but 1974 also has a large and a small date. Try that one out. That's on the P, the D, and the S. So you got to have, now you got to have 6. But check it out on the S. You got a couple of different mint marks. You gotta figure out those. 1974, the volume produced of the large and the small is pretty much equal, so they don't draw a premium. But yep,
Jay, did you get that message, Shay?
have a complete set.
No, let me.
Ken can confirm it. I wasn't going to say anything, but it's. I worry.
What are we confirming?
What you and I were watching the other night.
Oh boy.
I'm just.
What were we watching the other night?
Hang on. Oh God.
We were watching Mantic, I think.
Yeah, it's Mantic. It's the problem.
Are these the kinds of things we repeat in mixed company?
We watch people's shows while we have a hangout going on. At 501, we say, "Look, oh look."
SJ's show the other night because she bought me something. I felt bad. I left her show and did a hangout with Blues, and she bought me something at the LCS, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I can be in 2 places at once. That's right."
Speaking of 2 places, anybody going to the Allentown Bethlehem Coin Show this Saturday? I'll be there.
I thought you were going today.
No, it's Saturday only.
Oh. Okay.
Is that near Miami?
I wish I could. Is that near Miami? Chuck's like, pick me up.
Yeah, it's about as close as it is as we are to picking you up on our way to wherever we were going.
Cool. I'll be ready at 9.
I was just going to say, I'm on your way, so you can pick me up.
Yeah, it's about a 4.5-hour drive for me, so I won't be making it out, Chris.
All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you for having me, Shuman.
Yep. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Thanks for grabbing photos and stuff, and thanks for everyone who's sending photos. And do we know who's hosting next week?
Didn't we see Blues?
It's me.
Should be up for next week.
Wait a minute. What's wrong with my camera?
I don't know. I'm looking at a loop.
I've been looking at a loop for
Put
the
it
last
at the
30
floor.
minutes. There you are.
Blues. All right. So as of now, Blues will be hosting next week.
Okay.
He has to figure this Cameron thing out first.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, guys. We will, I guess, see you guys next week.
So for those who